Hi everyone, welcome back to Farrand on Film. Today we are bringing you another tier list. I've been joined by Ollie and Michael at the minute. Holly is having power troubles and may join us somewhere in the mist.
The gods of podcast land just do not want her to join
No, we're just not
as
active.
punishment for subjecting us to phone quality audio last time.
It was fine, it worked out fine. So bearing in mind that since we last recorded, I have had two conversations with my best friend on his stag do, one while he was sober, one while he was drunk, saying, I would watch your stuff, but it's just too long. And I have also had texts from Sam Collins saying, why don't you do anything that's shorter than about 2 hours long? The decision to do a 53 film tier list is a bit ridiculous. But I've put things in place and I've already told these two. I've got a timer, right? 2 minutes of film is all we're doing. If we do less, we do less. That's fine.
Do you know what? We're massive in India, so maybe the long form content is what goes well.
That's what they need on those really long train journeys that happen in
exactly.
India. So that's why it's working. Yeah, so we're going through 53 films, the 53 films that have basically grossed over $1 billion worldwide. And this sort of stemmed from Barbie hitting it a couple of weeks ago. Now, the list that I'm going off is from insider.com. So all of the totals are correct of whenever this article was published, which I think was when Barbie just crossed over. So 7th of August. So Barbie's going to have made a bit more since then. So we'll go as we do. Now, a couple of things that we need to iron out, first of all, is we are doing vetoes. We didn't really need them on the video games tier list. But we're going to have 3 vetoes each, just because I know for certain there are a couple of films in here which I need to fight the corner for. And I think there are a couple of films in here which I think Ollie needs to fight the corner for.
Yeah.
Michael, I'm unsure about where your loyalty lies in a lot of these, but we'll get to that when we get
we'll find
to
out.
it. And we said, whenever Holly joins us, she will have her 3 vetoes. So it depends on what films are left for Holly at that point. I wasn't certain on whether you wanted to do it in reverse order, so you're essentially ending with Avatar, or do we just try and I don't know, mix it up a bit? Don't know.
Don't mind. I think they're all $1 billion films, aren't they? So let's
go in reverse order then. Let's start
the
list. Right. So we're going to start at number 53. Jesus Christ. Right. Jurassic World Dominion. I'm starting the 2 minutes. Now, this grossed just over $1 billion. I didn't even realize it had hit $1 billion. Now, Ollie, have you seen this yet? Because I know you're right. So, Michael, have you seen it?
I haven't, no, I'll be honest.
Right, it's all on me then. Right, that's fine. I will be as, objective as I can be. It's not a good film. The sort of the trailer of mixing the old cast and the new cast intrigued me instantly, and I was all in for it. But it didn't work. So at that point, Ollie would say that then goes in a fail because it failed to do what it set out to do. I don't know if I would sooner put it in the 3rd, but I think with a film like that, how do you not get the original cast and the new cast right?
Yeah.
So we'll fail it. That was a minute.
I'm tempted to fail it just on the line from Laura Dern that I know is the thing that slid into my DMs.
Yeah.
Laura Dern should never say that. Laura Dern is better than that.
You are better than that, Laura.
Greed finds a way.
Nice. Right. I mean, this time Mark is just right. Anyway, number 52. Please don't make me use a veto straight away. The Dark Knight.
Veto fail. No, I'm kidding. Get it up there. Get it up there.
Just over $1 billion, 6 million over $1 billion. My instant reaction here is to put it in a first.
It is.
I think it's good. It's not the best in the trilogy, though. That's my issue.
What?
The other one is further on, isn't it? Dark Knight Rises is better than The Dark Knight. It is a better film.
Well, we're going to have contention.
Right, okay. I am going to...
Hang on. Right,
I would say that both probably in first. and I guess we're not doing Tears Within first.
This is the thing, Michael. This is the thing, and I was thinking last night, and shows how well my Sundays are going at the minute. That all my brain power is going to this. Ollie doesn't like Rises.
No.
I like Rises. I really like Rises. And
Whether or not you like Rises, though, Michael, that is a steaming hot take.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah, right. But I know that if Ollie had his way, he would either third this or fail this. Right?
That's a Dark Knight.
No, Rises.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd do it.
Right, which I think he's still thinking. So then at that point, it's like a veto fighting a veto. So then I was almost at the point of thinking, well, if me and Michael go against you and we overpower you, like, where do we land there? But
God, that is a steaming hot take.
We'll get to that when we get to that, okay? Because we can, So, right, Dark Knight's in the first. Easy peasy. Right. Contentious on Ollie point. Number 51, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Just over 1.01 billion. Ollie really hates these films.
Yeah, I mean, I think in context you can kind of give the first one a bit of leeway because it's like setting things up, and it does set things up. And I don't think it's the fault of the film that I don't like the story that much, because I have actually read The Hobbit, and it's like, and I know it's more of a kid's book than The Lord of the Rings, but it is. And then this happened, and then another dwarf came along, and then they went to this area. La 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 la. And it's just, yeah, it's not a great story. It isn't, and it kind of meanders at the end as well. And to have drawn it out as much as they did. Having said that, I'd happily put this in third, but
I think it's a fun film. Like, it's like if you think of it like a family film, like Lord of the Rings is a bit more adult, and this is a bit more easygoing. It's a bit more fun. I think had they not tried to split it into 3 films and left so little plot for each film, which themselves are quite long,
and giving it to Guillermo del Toro,
yeah,
that would have been so much better, because he would have done that. He would have done his weird little Guillermo tragic family element in there, and it would have been quite nice.
And I get that they started to pull parts from the Silmarillion and some of the unwritten stories into it and stuff, and then Legolas shows up because they wanted to have Orlando. And I don't know, it just kind of I just felt like it didn't, if we go on what it set out to do, it wasn't really The Hobbit, was it? If we think about the book, that's 200 and some pages long, it's not a very long book, is it?
Yeah.
Then that isn't a 3-hour free movie epic, is it?
I remember as well, cannot remember the context for it at all. I'd have to ask my dad. But just before I went to secondary school, I went to see a stage show, a stage production of The Hobbit. And that was better. The special effects in that were better than this billion-dollar movie.
Right. We've cashed in at time there. Right. My instant reaction, I would go third. So you and Ollie are both third.
I'd third it, yeah.
Right, fine. I'll take you two with a third. Right. Number 50, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
First, 100%.
1 bill,
100%.
23 mil. Where are you going at, Michael?
First, 100%.
First, Ollie?
Yeah, I probably would actually, But that might just be the millennial in me.
My instant reaction is I'd go high 2-1. Mainly because I think of the ones that we're going to talk about, my favourite is yet to come in terms of the Potter films. Azkaban should be on this list because it's the
Azkaban's best film.
Generally,
Azkaban is the best one.
So my instant reaction is 2-1. I have a lot of nostalgia feels for it. I think in the same way that you probably do, Michael.
I think the issue we've got is the kids couldn't act yet, could they?
Yeah.
So had they,
the
had the acting skills they have from 3, 4.
I would argue that doesn't really change throughout the entire series, but hey,
it does get better. Gets better than Hermione's voice. What voice in number 2?
Oh, yeah.
That line grates me every time.
Can we meet at a 2-1? Ollie, what's your opinion?
My initial reaction, and you're going to hate this, was 2-2. But then when you said 2-1, I was like, that doesn't offend me. Like, because it is pretty accurate to the book. And the book is great. And it's as accurate to the book as a film adaptation that's got to kind of cater to kids can be.
Yeah.
Most of the acting performances in it are great. What's the guy who plays Quirrell called? Because he's a really underrated British actor. But
yeah,
I think 2-1 is fair.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll land in 2-1 then. Number 49, Alice in Wonderland, 2010.
This is the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, not Through the Looking Glass. I don't think that made a bill.
It was all right. It weren't great. It was, I mean, it's what I'm going to say about a lot of these ones. The animated version is just so much better than this.
I don't even like the animated version all that much. It's just not my cup of tea, Alice in Wonderland. But the whole point of it is that it's this weird, like, I often criticize films for being like, and then this happened, and then this happened, but it's Wonderland. It's the entire point of the story is that it's this child's imagination kind of run rampant. And then this tries to turn it into some weird, serious political war drama because Tim Burton wants to make it dark and brooding. And it's like, no, Tim, there's other properties you can do this with, and it'd be really, really good. I'm tempted to fail this because it doesn't understand the assignment. At its core, it doesn't understand the assignment.
I don't think I'd go that far as a fail.
It's ugly as well. It's so ugly.
I think I'd rest at a 2-2 or a third.
I'll meet you at a third.
Third?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with a third.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's kind of fun, but it's not a good film.
Yeah.
It's like you'd watch it with the kids and then never watch it again.
Number 48, Zootopia or Zootropolis from 2016. Right.
I really enjoyed this. That scene
Zootopia.
that they've taken a screen cap from for the Insider advert, especially in the DMV.
Oh, yeah.
And the sloths in the DMV, just that alone.
I tell you what, that's actually the one joke that I hate because it's like, I know it's the point, but it's like, yes, I get it now. Sloths are slow, the DMV is slow. Can we, Can
we move on a little bit?
Now, they've done that Family Guy thing, haven't they, where they take a joke and they push it past the point where it's funny, and then they wait, it gets awkward, and then it kind of gets funny again.
Yeah. I've seen this once. I don't mind it. I think you have much more of an affinity for it than I do. Michael,
I love it.
You like it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I love any kids film that can get across like a serious message really well, and getting across that idea of systemic racism really well, and making it in a way that kids can get their head around it and understand it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's imaginative. I love all of the like ways that the city, like the world building's fantastic. All the actors are fantastic. Nick's story, his little backstory where he's a little boy and he's got a muzzle put on him, heartbreaking. I would put this in first, but I know you guys, like you especially, Adam, you're not going to agree with that.
I think I would go 2-1.
I will meet you at 2-1, but I'm not overly happy about it. Okay. I don't care enough to veto it, but
but I'm not, I'm not sending it down to the bottom of the bin, here we go. Number 47, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Ooh. Wow.
The top of Ollie's crap you love list.
Yeah, it is.
I'll be honest. I saw this and I hadn't seen the original trilogy properly.
Oh, okay.
So I was 10 when this came out, obviously, and I'd seen bits of the first one, but no one in my family was really a Star Wars fan. So this came out, and I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is just so good. Jar Jar Binks is a bit annoying given, but, films have annoying sidekick characters. And then Darth Maul has the double lightsaber, and I'm just sold.
Yeah.
And I think that it was aimed partially at children. The point of this was to get the new generation interested in Star Wars, because adults were already interested. They already had that generation. And the whole point of this was to appeal. And I think it does that really, really well. Like 10-year-old me, and I know my cousins and everyone, we were just enamored. And I've got like Darth Maul's on the shelf behind me with his double lightsaber.
I agree that it does appeal to children really, really well and get a new generation of Star Wars fans up. But as we will see later, there is a way to do that without alienating your current fan base. And this did. Like, I love it. I have that affinity for it because I was younger when it came out. Was it 99 when this came out?
99, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have been 7. And obviously 7-year-old me loved this. And I do still love it. If I watch it now, I'm like, oh yeah, it reminds me of my childhood. But it's such an easy, in terms of film, in terms of story, in terms of character, it is so easy to pick this film apart.
Yeah.
So easy to pick it apart.
My gut reaction is fighting 2-1 for nostalgia, 2-2 for quality.
I think I-2-2 is fair.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree.
I think I-2-2 is fair. Like, it isn't a good film, but we love it.
Yeah.
I think if we've acknowledged, like me and you, Adam, if we've acknowledged that it's crap, and we've all agreed it was a crap film, you can't have it in like a 2-1.
It's one of those films that
and they
you're
wasted
allowed to
Liam
sort
Neeson.
you're allowed to acknowledge the flaws in it and then still like it, you know. Right, 46, Finding Dory.
See, I haven't seen this. I don't like it, even though I haven't seen it, because it ruins a theory about Finding Nemo that I really like, that Nemo's not real. And that Nemo's died, and it's like he needs to let go of like what happened and move on. And then Finding Dory ruins that theory, so I don't like it. But I've seen
another thing that ruins that theory is that even Pixar would never go that down.
You wait. They've not hit that time yet. I love Finding Nemo. Yeah, as I've mentioned on the podcast, it's my favorite Pixar film. And
it's certainly one of the best looking, even to this day.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible.
Dory didn't really do much for me. I didn't rush out to go and see it at the cinema because I just thought this is just going to be a cash grab. We watched it when it came out on Blu-ray. Didn't really do much for me. I don't think it's an awful film. It just didn't do anything for me as a huge fan of the first one.
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning towards a 2-2.
I'm leaning third.
Okay.
I think genuinely the only reason this is $1 billion film is because people were that hyped off the back of Finding Nemo. It had nothing to do with this film.
I'll say this because obviously I'm not certain on where things like, because we've got films in here from the 90s, so like Phantom Menace, which we've just spoken about, didn't make $1 billion in its first run, made $1 billion from 3D re-releases and all that other kind of stuff that came with it. My knowledge of these bunch of films is I remember the big deal of The Dark Knight crossing a bill and like it being absolutely massive. And then obviously inflation happens, all that kind of stuff. And then you get more and more films finding it somewhat easier to cross the $1 billion mark. Now, there are certain films on this list that I remember being sort of besotted by and tracking where they were in making their money, one of which we will come to in a little bit. But I think some of them just do it because of the type of film that they are, like this, for example. Like Dory did it because of it was probably released in a half-term holiday and everyone needed to get out and go to the cinema. It doesn't mean that it's a fantastic film. We've got 2 Minion films to get to yet. So, you see where we're going. Right, 45 at the time of writing this, but this might have changed, is Barbie.
It's definitely going higher.
1.3. Have you seen Barbie, Michael?
I have.
Yeah. What did Nella think of it? Because I had a conversation with Nella about it before we finished.
Yeah, she really enjoyed it. I'll be honest, we all really enjoyed it. And I think it's one of the. So I took me, Nella, my brother, and my son went to watch it, and it's one of the few films that my son would in the cinema sat and watched all the way through without. He doesn't really do films for some reason. Right. He's more into like video games and stuff, and he just watched it all the way through and he loved it. And I liked it in the sense that it challenged certain things like that I held quite true. Like there's a point where Ken goes back to Barbie Land, and then we're back with Barbie. And I'm sat there thinking, what's Ken doing? Why are we not focusing on what Ken's doing? And then I'm thinking, why do I care?
Exactly.
Because the movie's not about Ken, but that's because we're so like kind of linked in our brains to he would be the person we'd follow. Had this film been made 10 years ago, it would have been about her going to the real world, finding Ken, and Barbie and Ken. Now she's complete because she has Ken. And I thought it challenged that really, really well. And it is just a fun film.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed watching it. The jokes are quite good. They land quite well. Michael Cera as Alan is ingenious. Like, one of the best things I've seen. It's quite self-aware as well, I think. And I get that there's some people who viscerally hate this film. And I kind of understand why, because it challenges certain things and if they're quite important to you.
It's the people who are insecure about those things that's challenging.
Oh, absolutely,
viscerally hating on it. Because I'm similar to you in that I sat there and watched. So Amy, my wife, took my daughter Ruby the day before I saw it. They really loved it, and then I tried to convince Ruby to go again, but she wasn't too fussed about going again. So I went on my own, and the bit where they changed Barbie's dream house to the Mojo Dojo Casa house, and all the bits with the Kens where they're going, just let me just come over and explain this to you. Do you want to come and watch The Godfather while I sit with you and talk to you about all these?
I felt so attacked at that point.
Like, there were so many things where I was like, "Oh my God, that's me!" And then
can I play guitar at you?
Yeah, like the bits in the "I'm Just Ken" song where it's like, "Oh, I'm just Ken, but I'm good at doing stuff." And like, I got home and Amy was like, "Are you a Ken?" I was like, "Well, I'm good at doing stuff." I went to the gym the same day and Amy was like, "Go on, with your Kens, get in there."
I think for the fact that this film made Ben Shapiro cry and made Piers Morgan cry, because they just completely missed the point of, oh, Ken is just this big dumb idiot and he's just there to look good and he's got no other redeeming qualities whatsoever. He's just there to support Barbie, you can do everything. It's like, well done, welcome to Hollywood for women for the past however many years.
Yeah, he's not as badly written as they make out either, because like when he kind of loses, he's then quite like he's quite good in defeat, isn't he? He's quite humble. He's quite like, actually, I didn't care about patriotism. What's it called?
Patriarchy.
Patriarchy. I don't know why I forgot the word patriarchy. It doesn't affect me.
On horses.
I stopped caring about patriarchy when I found out it wasn't about horses.
Yeah,
that's
stuff like
I want, and I want the "I am Ken off" hoodie that he wears. I want it. It's a first.
Yeah, so I agree. I absolutely
sets
out what it sets out to do.
I think in terms of quality of a film, I would be more aiming toward the 2-1. But I think if you're sort of taking everything that it stands for, everything it means, everything it's done, the success it's having, it's a first. Like,
I also like the theory that Will Ferrell's character from Elf, the Barbie movie, and the Lego movie is all the same guy.
Where's Zoe Deschanel?
I didn't take Elf in. I thought about the Lego movie one, though.
But that's where his obsession with toys come from. That's why he runs a toy company.
Fair enough. Right, okay. Right, number 44, Despicable Me 3. Yeah. Where's Gemma when you need her?
Oh God, don't even remind me.
I couldn't even tell you what this was. Like,
we've not got a shrug category.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I couldn't tell you which one it was.
That surely means it's a fail if it's that unmemorable of the film.
Yeah, fine. Sorry, Gemma.
She likes the first one anyway. Maybe she don't like maybe she thinks the sequels are trash.
The first one is all right, to be fair. It's like a found family kind of thing, isn't it?
Which is fine, Michael, but I got really heated over this because Gemma put it as her 10th best film of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know hot takes on that. So.
And that was that was the only animated film in her list. So she was saying that was better than Beauty and the Beast. That was better than Finding Nemo. That was better than Up. Like, madness.
That is difficult, isn't it?
And I'm the edgelord, apparently.
You are the edgelord. The title was awarded to you first. Right, number 43. I think straight off the bat, this is a fail. Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Yes.
I know I've seen it. I don't know which one it was, which I think says it all.
This is it's the fourth one, right? But at the point where you've ended a trilogy, you've kind of capped it all off, you've flopped it there because At World's End is a bit rubbish. But then you've kind of gone, well, we think there's still stock in Jack Sparrow, so we'll do it again. And it's just like, right, well, it's just Johnny Depp waving his arms frantically and running around for 2.5 hours. Like, the first one's the best one. First one's right on the list.
First one's by far the best one.
Yeah.
Mind you, I like other people say that they massively drop off after that. I do like the original trilogy.
I don't mind Dead Man's Chest. I think At World's End has parts to it that are enjoyable, but yeah.
I think it ties it up decently. I just think they ended up focusing a little bit too much on duplicity. That's what they seem to think we liked about the first film. It's like, oh, look at all these people double crossing and triple crossing and quadruple crossing each other.
I was like,
it's like no,
these
we like
pirates
and swashbuckling.
Yeah. Right. I don't know if we're going to disagree on this one. Number 42, Aladdin. Live action Aladdin.
I haven't seen this.
I really didn't mind this. I didn't think it was bad.
Yeah, fine. I wouldn't fail this.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a fail.
It's not a fail. Like, I ended up being pleasantly surprised by Will Smith as Genie, and it was very much the vibe of, this probably is the best guy you could have got in to play the Genie.
Yeah.
At that point, like,
the most charismatic person that you could get.
Yeah, and it's not his fault that he's not Robin Williams.
Yeah, absolutely.
It isn't, and it's unfair to compare him. And he actually does get, like, they probably will have been more scripted and prepared, but that's not, again, not his fault. And I quite like, is it the line where he's like, you need to stop talking about jam? When he's like trying to woo the princess. I think that's quite a funny line, and Will Smith delivers it really well.
He does.
He didn't try to be Robin Williams, Genie. I've seen enough clips to know that he really did do his own thing, which I think is, that's good, really, because he didn't.
It's
just
admirable as well with a role as big as that. My initial reaction is probably 2-2.
Yeah, I'll go 2-2. I'm not saying that it's a fantastic film, but I remember going to see it and just thinking
it's certainly better than everything else in that 2-2 bracket. It's like, I'm like, when I watched it, I was like, I could probably not watch this again, but I'm not annoyed that I watched it.
Yeah.
I think Jafar was incredibly weak in it though, which is a shame because last night we watched Aladdin, not last night, the night before, we watched the animated one, and Georgia was like, I keep forgetting how much I like this film.
Yeah.
It really has got a bit of everything. It's great, Aladdin.
Number 41, a bit of a sleeper one, which I think people will be surprised that got to 1 billion. I really liked it. I think you did too, Ollie. Rogue One.
I think Rogue One might be one of my favourite Star Wars films. It's not my favourite, but it's up there.
It's like at least the first half of the film is a mess. And it's weird and like very poorly written. And then that last sequence where they're down on the planet trying to get the Death Star plans, all of that is excellent.
Yeah.
But then you see like the shot from the trailer, where they're like running across the beach and it's like Saving Private Ryan, but in Star Wars. And that was cut from the film. And it's like, why? That shot was so good.
Best bit of Darth Vader in any of the films.
In any of the films,
the only issue with that, he's so good in that hallway scene. It is, you forget, this is why this guy's terrifying. I absolutely understand. And then when you realise he was holding the door closed with the Force all the time.
Yeah.
But then you see him 5 minutes later, or like a few days later, all in the original, because obviously we've got the original fight, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's technically a
he's
couple of days
used all
later.
his energy, so he's just sat down and he's.
And all of a sudden he's swinging out a lead pipe again. But it's one end that scene's amazing, but it's just and it links up like the layers there, and it links up quite well. And like these are the people who were mentioned. The fact that they gave their lives was mentioned.
Mind you, the nerd in me noticed that they left C-3PO at like when the rebels went off to go and help them. They left C-3PO and R2-D2 behind, so that's a continuity error.
Oh, bloody hell!
I didn't notice that.
But I did. I think we went to see this in IMAX. I think this is one of the films we actually went to see in IMAX, and that Vader. I'm very emotional when it comes to film. I did openly cry when Vader just started wrecking everyone.
It's so good.
Because I've heard because people have their opinions on Disney Star Wars, and I do get both sides. I largely like what they've done, although they've tailed off massively. But one thing that everyone seems to agree on is that Disney do seem to understand Vader and what makes Vader terrifying and what makes Vader this presence. Like, because Obi-Wan is kind of split opinion as a TV series, but everyone agrees that Vader in it is excellent.
Yeah. I think I'd go 2-1 for this.
I don't think I'd argue with a 2-1. It's definitely not a 2-2.
I'm being outvoted then. I don't care that much about it. Go.
Okay. Oh, we're not in veto land yet.
We're not in veto land yet.
Right, another Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest.
Quite like.
Okay, you know.
Yeah. I mean, some people, I only really enjoy, I've seen them all. Other than the first one, they all blend together for me. It's just Johnny Depp being as Jack Sparrow as he can.
Yeah.
Or I do think there's a lot of good characterization in this as well. Beckett is just one of the most despicable villains in film history. You just hate him.
Mm.
Tom Hollander does such a good job of playing him. Like he's this well-known actor within like British circles, but on the Hollywood scene, he's okay. And then there's the deleted scene as well, where it turns out that the reason Beckett knows who Jack Sparrow is because Beckett had asked Jack Sparrow to like take slaves and transport slaves, and he refused to do it. So the theory is that the Black Pearl, the reason it's black is because Beckett had set it on fire and sunk it.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I actually quite like this one, you know. And when you look at Davy Jones, the CGI on him is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely tempted to 2-1 this.
Oh.
Like low 2-1, but I am tempted to 2-1 this.
I'm 2-2.
Where you at, Michael?
I don't have any strong feelings towards this film. I'd be more comfortable with a 2-2.
That does link to. All right, yeah, I get that.
Oh,
I just think it's better than people remember. I think it's just because it's a drop off from the first film and it gets a bit more complicated, but it is actually quite good.
Yeah. Right, number 39, Toy Story 3.
It was the Barbie movie 0.5.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, Barbie in that is excellent. I love that she says the most intelligent thing in any Pixar film, and everyone looks at her like, "What?"
We're gonna come to number 4 when we get to number 4. This to me was the perfect sort of round off of the trilogy.
Yeah.
I remember working in the cinema at the time, and someone sort of said to me, "What do you think the greatest trilogy of all time is?" Obviously, I thought the Corner for the Dark Knight trilogy. And then, someone else mentioned Lord of the Rings. And I said, in terms of consistency, you could go Toy Story. And then, yeah, the other thing happened.
Yeah. And they're doing a 5.
Oh, God. Right. I
enjoyed Toy Story 3. I think it's a good film. I think that the idea of like, I know I don't go first in it, but I think the idea of like, the fact that these toys are alive in the story, and the fact there are some places where toys aren't looked after quite as well, and there are these people who, just collect them and put them on a shelf, myself included, and things like that, and like if they are alive, how cruel is that really? And that was the second one, wasn't it, where they were collected? This continues it anyway, doesn't it, into the thing? But this is why I was saying that had they made the Barbie movie 10 years ago, it'd have been about had she found Ken, did it been complete? Because that is they realised they were made for each other, and
they literally say that in the film. They literally say that, made for each other.
Yeah, and that is exactly what would have happened. But it is a really fun film. It caps off the trilogy quite well. It's Andy's grown up now. This is the inevitable passage that all toys go through, and I enjoyed it. I think they shouldn't have made a 4, but it did. It ended that original trilogy really well, I think. And the bear is quite a good villain, like,
isn't it?
Incredible.
Yeah. To the point where I think he actually needed to die.
Oh,
I genuinely think Lotso needed to die because Toy Story
get him in the furnace.
But it's weird because like Toy Story they don't, because like one of the villains is a kid, so you're not going to have them kill a kid, especially in their first ever film. But Pixar are not afraid to kill a villain. Hopper died, Charles Muntz died, Syndrome died. Like they kill off a lot of their villains.
Woody Hopper. Right.
I'm not sure Sid was a villain, I'll be honest, in Toy Story 1.
Yeah, exactly. But he's the closest thing that film has
Yeah.
to one. But yeah, he's just a kid who's just destructive with how he plays with toys. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
He's not hurting He's not hurting animals at the end of the day.
No,
Yeah.
he's not. My instant is 2-1.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay. Right. Oh, here we go. Straight onto it. Number 38, Toy Story 4. Do I need to say 2 words, or are you going to agree with me to put it in fail?
Yeah, it is gorgeous.
Right.
It is gorgeous, and there are some individually like nice moments, but those nice moments could have been like the next Pixar short.
I will admit to you, the opening scene, that rain coming down on RC, beautiful. Beautiful.
And when they're in the sandpit as well.
Yeah, but wasn't needed. Didn't add anything to it. I don't care. Just an excuse, and I'm saying this as a parent who at that time had already invested in a Buzz Lightyear, a Woody, a Jessie, and all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, now got to buy Duck and whatever the other one was. Right? Don't care. Not interested. Failed you.
It did have Duke Canuck though, or whatever he was called.
Duke Caboom.
Duke Caboom. Oh no.
We'll allow Duke Caboom, but other than that, right? 37, 2019 Joker.
I really, really enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed it.
You know, my only issue with this is I feel like the Waynes shouldn't have been included at all. I feel like they were shoehorned in order to justify, oh, it is the Joker, because look, there's... it didn't need to be an origin story of that Joker. And no, one day he's going to be Batman, and what he did... You know, Tim Burton covered all that the Joker being responsible for Batman's parents' deaths. We've seen it. We didn't need that again. Yeah. Take that out, though, and I think it's a really good film. I think Joaquin Phoenix does an incredible job.
Yes.
I don't mind the idea of the chaos that he... I get not wanting him to have, like, murdered Bruce and Thomas and Martha, but for him to have sown the chaos that started it, I don't mind that.
I'm with Michael in that it's when it happened and when he spoke to the child Bruce Wayne.
That was forced. That wasn't needed.
And there was a sort of like paternity guess of whether or not he was a Wayne and all that. And I got two in my head at that point while I was watching it and started thinking like, did this actually happen in the comic books? Is this actually a thing? Is this whatever?
I guess it wanted a catalyst for him to hate the rich, though, didn't it? Yeah. And the idea that, like, that storyline of, is Thomas Wayne actually my father? That was an important fall for him, because that ultimately feeds into his resentment that he has towards society.
Yeah.
It's lazy, though, because he had enough reasons to resent society. If you look at the life he was living, the way he was being treated, they show enough happening.
You saw enough of that.
And, you know, his mother being quite abusive and, you know, society not understanding his condition and that kind of, you know, being othered. And there was enough there that, it's one of those things, I just know some exec came in and like, but how does it link to Batman? I don't understand that he's the Joker because Batman's not in it. So I need some Waynes in it so that I understand that this is part of the DC universe. And if it was leading on to that, then I'd be like, okay, if this is an origin and we're getting Batman next, but they've already said they don't want to do Batman in this universe.
Yeah.
So then don't include him at all.
Yeah. All the quibbles aside, this is a 5-star film for me.
Yeah.
I think it really picks up when his friends come to visit him towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
Them, you know,
it's like, I've got a cat eating my wires.
Nice. He goes on to the Robert Downey Jr. characters show. Murray,
Robert De Niro.
Sorry, Robert De Niro. And then we know the sort of the last few shots where he's driving through the city or he's being driven through the city and it's all chaos and he stands on the car, stuff like that. I remember at the end, Amy got up before I did and she said, well, "Come on then," and I was like, I could sit here and watch more of that. Like I could sit and watch more of him in that world, and I'm just hoping that with Follow You Do that like it's supposed to be a musical, isn't it? The next one.
Oh yeah, the second one, what's it? Harley Quinn played by Lady Gaga.
I hope that works. I
really hope that works because I can see that not working.
Yeah, I would put this in a first.
Yeah, easy.
I would. Yeah,
right.
Easy.
Good. I'm glad we agree.
That the stairs and Gary Glitter.
Oh God. From top of the pile to potentially bottom of the pile straight away. 2019 as well. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Fail. I'm sorry, I'm not entertaining any positive argument of Rise of Skywalker. Fail.
Oh dear. All right.
It's crap.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't put it higher than say a 2-2, but I don't think it's a terrible film.
I do. I think everything about it is course correction from cry arses who were whinging about The Last Jedi. Like, if you don't like Last Jedi, I can get my head around that. It's not a perfect film. I really like it, but I get people not liking it. This is the result of Disney desperately trying to course correct on every bold decision that they made in The Last Jedi because some fans were crying about it.
Yeah.
And now you've got people who are in the films trying to pity towards those people and being like, oh, I think Last Jedi is the worst one. It just patently isn't. As a film that is made with a narrative, it just isn't the worst Star Wars film. It really isn't. And this was awful. This is the only film that has ever made me angry.
I think in terms of if we're calling a fail, a sort of it tried to do something and it failed. This tried to do something and it failed.
Yeah, and this is the ending to one of the biggest film franchises as it stands. They'll probably do another trilogy when I'm, a granddad. But this is as it stands. This is the ending to one of the biggest film franchises ever,
Yeah.
and it absolutely screwed the landing.
Yeah.
So fail. Absolute bottom of the barrel of these films, as far as I'm concerned, as well.
Get off the fence, man. Right. Here we go. 35, The Dark Knight Rises.
See, this for me, if we've put Dark Knight in first, I'd put them both in probably 2-1, to be honest. But I think this is better than The Dark Knight Rises. I think it's... I don't know. I think because The Dark Knight Rises, the Joker's good in it. Don't get me wrong. He's not.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh my God.
He's not as good as everyone makes out like it's the best thing they've ever seen. It's all right. It is just all right.
You feel attacked, Adam?
Yeah.
Is that like a lava hot take?
Yes.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the the kind of moral dialogue. I enjoyed it, especially that and getting his back broken. It's a classic comic.
And then just magically fixed because someone just pokes him in the back.
To be fair, though, that is in a lot of the comics, he does just get better again through pure force of will.
Right, sure, but that
does happen.
This is the Chris Nolan universe that he made painstaking efforts to make as realistic as possible. Like he said, he didn't say that Bane is taking some weird steroid like Venom to make him stronger. It was some weird analgesic gas to help him cope with pain for something that we never know about. Right.
I get people's issues with it. I think if you go off a moviegoer's enjoyment, I think this is the more enjoyable film to watch.
No.
I think that because when I watch The Dark Knight, I've seen them all a few times. I've watched the trilogy a couple of times, but the Joker's plan, if you look at it from any angle, shouldn't have worked. No part of it should have worked. He's got these absolute lunatics working for him who are somehow capable of executing this massively complicated plan that apparently he doesn't make because he doesn't make plans, but he absolutely does. And it goes off perfectly in the most insane ways that just couldn't have happened. He's like, oh no, this is what we expected. Yeah, this is where we're expecting to be. And I think had Heath Ledger not played him as well as he did, that film wouldn't be as high. It is just his performance. The actual story's a bit meh. Whereas this is a real they lose and then they have to fight back. The police coming out of the sewers and fighting back.
Oh yeah, and every single police officer.
Hey, that's stupid.
They don't send out a SWAT team or anything like that. They just send every standard uniformed police officer into the sewer, into an obvious trap. You want to talk about things working to a convenient level, Michael? Come on. a
Wow.
stock exchange, and so the stock exchange gets broken into, an illegal trade takes place, and everyone's like, yeah, Bruce Wayne has spent all his money. Not, let's maybe cancel that stock because that happened when the building got broken into.
I
So I've got a cat like trying to pull all the wires out of my computer at the same time.
I really like Rises. I mean, I know that the ending especially is massively low-hanging fruit with the whole, oh, it's John Blake. Oh, I can't find your name.
Oh, my name's Robin.
My name's Robin. I mean, I
couldn't have been like Dick or Tim or Jason.
Oh no, I blubbed at that in the cinema. I was gone. And I know it's low-hanging fruit, but you know, I loved it. I think this should rest in 2-1. In that, Ollie, I think you would put it lower. Michael, I think you would put it higher. If I am compromising, I'm saying 2-1.
I think, again, it is probably better than everything in 2-2.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I can just about get my head around that. But if it was up to me, I'd be 2-2ing it.
Right, well, there it goes. That was interesting.
That was definitely longer than 2 minutes as well.
Like I've heard Ollie's take on it before, but Michael, some of the stuff that you were saying about that.
I'm sorry. I am not the edgelord. I am not the edgelord anymore.
Times have changed.
He just crapped all over your favourite film of all time, Adam.
Wait till the next one where like we might both lose our jobs, Adam, I'll be honest.
Oh, well, yeah.
We're about to get onto Transformers and Sam Collins.
Does he like all of them?
Oh, yeah, he just loves them. Absolutely loves them.
Because I thought about him yesterday because Channel 4 was showing the first Transformers film, so unequivocally his favourite film of all time.
Yeah.
And I know that it comes and stems from the fact that he saw it in America and that people were hooping and cheering and hollering in the cinema and all that kind of stuff. But there were
such a mid film. It is.
It's not for me.
I have no affiliation with Sam Collins, so I'll come out and say it. That's a dumb opinion. You're wrong. Transformers films.
He already thinks you talk too much, so yeah.
I don't remember asking. At the end of the day, the Transformers films are just mid. Can anybody realistically tell the difference between any individual Transformers film?
Well,
no.
To be fair, I can, because the first one is the best one. First one isn't on this list. This fourth one, just to actually say it, 34 is Transformers Age of Extinction. So
has it got dinosaurs in it?
No, not that one.
Right, so immediately even the title's confusing. Fail.
Hang on. Holly Matthias has joined the waiting room. Come on, Holly.
She might be putting it into a first. Vito might be able to get used.
Yeah, Holly's a
Sam
big
Collins has been on the blower.
Using
those vetoes. It just says
Holly just loves mindless CGI destruction. She loves this. She loves Fast and the Furious.
All in.
Those are her favorite film franchises of all time. And you know what she hates? She hates Jane Austen. With a burning passion. She hates anything to do with Jane Austen. She hates strong female characters. I bet she hates the Barbie film. I bet she thinks the Barbie film is woke.
While Holly's joining, because it does just say joining, I'm fairly certain this Transformers film is the one where Mark Wahlberg joined the cast.
Oh God, fail.
Which, yes, it is. It's the one where Mark Wahlberg. Now, this one also has some of the most.
What's going on? There's giant robots.
Well, this one has some of the most egregious product placement I've ever seen in my life, where they're sort of like, "Oh, this thing can go on anything. I know, a Beats pill," and it's like, "Well, thanks for the money." But then also, this has one of the worst jokes in any film because. There's a sort of thing about Mark Wahlberg's daughter in the film has an older boyfriend.
Is it Haley Steinfeld?
Is it Haley Steinfeld? I can't remember. But
no, Haley Steinfeld's Bumblebee.
Yeah, right. Bumblebee. There you go. Yeah. So basically, Mark Wahlberg's daughter has an older boyfriend. Okay, and there's a joke about the fact that because he's too much older and she's a certain age, that if they've ever actually done anything, that would be statutory rape. To which he then pulls out a card that describes the princess law, which apparently means that in some states in America, statutory rape is okay. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know the scene you're referring to because I can kind of hear you through the headphones.
Yeah.
It is so creepy. The fact that they spend a solid few minutes talking about it as well. And it's just like...
That
You've
sounds
given
like
a character a trait that he's
someone.
carrying around a laminated card, just in case somebody says, is she not a bit too young? And he goes, yeah, but...
Yeah, I know I'm a creep, but it's legal, so jog on.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
everyone involved with that scene should be investigated 100%. Just it's so
hard
dodgy.
drives right now.
That's
got to be a fail.
I think I'd fail this.
If it's defending statutory rape, I don't think maybe we just put it in a separate tier for a literal crime against humanity.
Yeah,
Dropped
sorry,
out.
Sam.
Didn't even apply.
Do you hear that, Sam Collins? You're probably a creep because you enjoy these films.
That's a hot take.
Bring the noise. I don't care.
Here she is. Here we go.
Holly, we were just talking about your favourite film series, Transformers.
She's not even heard you.
She's stunned into silence.
I'm in.
She's in.
She's in.
Yay!
Right, let's take Holly through where we're up to. So we've just done number 34, so we're going backwards.
Okay.
In the first, Dark Knight, Barbie, Joker. 2-1, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Zootropolis, Zootopia, Rogue One, Star Wars Story, Toy Story 3, Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
2, Phantom Menace, Aladdin, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
Okay.
3rd, Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, Alice in Wonderland, Finding Dory. And then fails, Jurassic World Dominion, Minions, Despicable Me 3, Pirates of the Caribbean and Stranger Tides, Toy Story 4, Rise of Skywalker, and Transformers Age of Extinction.
Okie dokie.
Are we all good with that so far?
Well, I don't want to have to re-legislate anything. There are a few there that I think are one tier too high, but there's nothing I'm like, what? I'm disgusted. I hate the Harry Potter films with a passion that burns. Ooh. So Harry Potter being in a 2-1 is
Holly Georgia is disgusted. I just did this. What?
I hate every single.
Miss Matthias has rocked up and she's already.
I love the book.
Georgia just called you a hipster, Holly.
That's fine. That's fine. I love the book so much, and I when the first film came out, I was so excited, but I was the exact wrong age. So I watched it and I was like, "This is the worst book adaptation I've ever seen in my entire life," and I didn't want to watch any of the others, and I've just kind of caught up on them by accident when I've been in the room with other people. I realise they're not awful. I just hate them personally, so I'm not going to make you move it.
Teaser for Greats We Hate then.
Yeah.
Well, there's no chance I'm going to admit that it's great. No chance. Mediocre at best.
Ooh.
Holly, actually, I went to go and watch Haunted Mansion on Saturday with Ruby. It's fine, but the main character is called Ben Matthias. I just thought I'd let you know. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Spreading my surname far and wide. Yeah. There should be more of us.
That sounds like a very Irish thing to do.
Right, Oliver, I'm just going to do it. Number 33 is Jurassic Park. Up, there it goes.
Get it up
there.
There
it goes.
100%. Yeah.
Put it at the front of that list, please. It's okay now.
No. It's so
Holly, you missed Michael talking about Dark Knight. It was hilarious. Adam looked like he wanted to cry.
You're not a fan of Dark Knight?
Not a fan, just not as good as everyone says it is. And Adam's there, when I tell him this is my favourite film ever.
I rewatched them recently and I actually enjoyed Dark Knight Rises more.
What's happened?
What is wrong with these people?
Is that what you said as well, Michael?
Oh my God.
That is exactly what I said. What I said.
First time round, definitely Dark Dark Knight was my favorite, and I was a little disappointed with Dark Knight Rises. Watching them back to back on like one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday.
Like
Dark Knight Rises was way better than I remember.
There's like 3 times where a stunt double goes to ground without being punched.
Although we've been there. Just to caveat what Holly just said, when she said back to back, one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday, that is our parents back to back these days because we can't get
that is our parents back to back.
That's how we have to do it.
It took me 5 hours to watch it as well, the amount of times I had to pause.
Right, number 31, we're back on Transformers. This is Transformers Dark of the Moon.
Fail. Because which one is it?
How far down can it go?
It's the third of the trilogy, the third of the original trilogy.
It's not the worst one they made.
No, because that was the second one.
They're all... But yeah, because this is the one like...
They're all...
Actually, this is definitely a fail, because this is the one with like, oh, some of the robots can turn to humans, but we'll never mention that again.
Yeah, but then also, some of the robots actually start to bleed when they start fighting towards the end, because they start making, like someone, I think Optimus Prime punches somebody, and oil spills out of them, so it looks like they're bleeding. And it's like, do we really need that in a Transformers film? We get that the robots punching each other. It's okay, you know.
It's so
sorry, Sam, they're all failed. Right, number 31, Captain Marvel. Now,
I'm surprised this is here. It's an all right film.
Yeah.
I am surprised it's here out of the Marvel films.
I quite like Captain Marvel when I watched it, but then sat here thinking about it now, and this can't really sort of cast any sort of aspersion on it. It's been so sort of, it's made no difference to anything, really.
No, it's not.
You
I mean, Captain Marvel's an issue because she's just so overpowered anyway. So she instantly is a bit of an issue of a character. Kind of like Superman. If there's no kryptonite about, he's just so overpowered that what's the point of him?
Yeah.
I think the problem I have with this film, every single twist you see coming before the credits roll, that is my problem with it. It's just such a, yes, this is exactly how this story was going to go. And I guess not everything has to have a twist, but it is a very basic film.
Yeah.
There's nothing special about it.
Because it's another origin story, isn't it? And
I think that is the problem, yeah.
And we've got an origin story. We've got an origin story. This was in between the 2 last Avengers movies, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going we built up and built up and built up to those 2, and then we're going all the way back to an origin story. It's like, really? Like, she was that important.
And that's not this film's fault.
War, don't you? Big tease at the end of Infinity War, and then she turns up at the beginning of Endgame, and then she disappears for ages with the sort of quote being, what's happening on your planet is happening on all the planets, so I've got to go out then. And then she rocks up at the end because she's super
because Thanos needs someone to punch him who can, vaguely fight him.
It's one of the only Marvel films I haven't seen. I would say I'm a Marvel fan, like not a super fan, but a fan. But I'm not so much of a fan as I'll watch every single movie that comes out, even if it gets poor reviews. And I think I've read quite a few poor reviews that are at least very metal. And I thought maybe this is the one to miss. And I've never felt the need to go back and watch it. Endgame and Infinity War, I didn't feel like I couldn't understand what was going on because I hadn't seen Captain Marvel. So I don't intend to watch it.
It does have Goose.
Yeah.
It does have Goose. That is very much going in its favour.
The animal or the character from Top Gun?
A reference to the character from Top Gun, because he is a ginger cat who it turns out is some weird, like, eldritch monster.
I mean, I think it would make more sense if it was an actual goose that turns into an eldritch monster, because we know they're evil.
But I think he's got, because the whole point is she's a pilot, so I think they've deliberately called him Goose as a reference to Top Gun, because he's like the cat that he's meant to be the cat that just potters around the airbase.
Judging off the way that we've spoken about it, I would go 2-2.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah,
I think if this film had been made earlier, when we hadn't had 1,000 origin, it would have been better received. But we were just so tired of it.
Yeah,
and that's not. And also, there's lots of people who just hate Brie Larson who just review bomb the film.
Yeah, to be fair. And it was like, oh, they're making comments about, she's a woman, woke nonsense. It's the same criticisms that have been leveled at Barbie. Except Barbie just did it much better and like slapped you across the face with it, which it needed to because it was amazing.
I think the 2 minutes has gone out the window.
Yeah.
I was saying, Holly, we were going to spend 2 minutes per film, but that's not happened.
That's such a pipe dream, Adam.
I know. I do apologise. People are complaining that these things are too long. I'm trying to please everybody. Number 30 is Spider-Man Far From Home. Just to say as well to Holly, we've not used any of our vetoes yet, and we've all got 3 vetoes. So
okay, nice.
Yeah.
Ooh. I might at the end. I might retroactively use one.
Oh, she's gonna touch Harry Potter.
I'm not.
That sounded weird.
That's a very. It is actually. No, there's another one on there which I think is a really shockingly bad film, and you've got it high.
Oh.
But I think
it's Aladdin. I bet it's Aladdin.
I haven't seen Aladdin.
Don't guess. Wait. Right. Yeah, if you want to stock them all up for now and then change it right at the end, stock all your vetoes.
Just to annoy you all.
Yeah.
Can't veto a veto though, Hal.
Can't veto.
I'm saving mine for the ones I really care about.
Yeah.
Was that the best way to get up here? Really?
Yes.
Claw my arm.
For audio listeners, Michael's been attacked.
Fool of a took.
Number 30, Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, not the best of the Spider-Man trilogy, of the Tom Holland.
I think it's
Spider-Man
the worst. Just by default, but I think it's the worst. Default,
yeah, but I don't think it's a bad film.
No, it's not bad.
No. I agree the others are better.
Yeah.
But the others, it's got good competition though, hasn't it? I mean, all 3 are really good.
Yeah. We've spoken to death about how much we love No Way Home. I am fighting the corner of Homecoming in that if John Hughes directed a superhero film, that's what it would look like. And love it to death. This obviously made the bill off the back of Spider-Man cropping up in Civil War, Homecoming, the sort of Marvel bubble that I think really peaked around that time.
Yeah.
Obviously coming off the back of Infinity War as well, people wondering how this was actually going to happen, because this was 2019. Oh, Endgame, sorry. Because obviously people wondering what was going to happen there. Instant reaction is a 2-1.
Yeah.
Low, but yeah, like in this setup, I could allow that.
Right.
I really Dark Knight Rises as well. I think it's better than Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
But we might not be doing that yet, which is fine.
This is one for the Bonds fans. The only one that's in there. Shouldn't be the only one that's in there, if you ask me. Number 29, Skyfall.
This is the one with Judi Dench is still in it, isn't it? And
just about.
It's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
it is. It's really, really good. Yeah,
fantastic acting from Javier Bardem. My one criticism is I never understand how someone insane like that, especially in a comic book style universe, I get it, but in this, he's very much like the Joker, and it's like you've got all of these very loyal henchmen. Why are they loyal to you? Because your plan is to kill an old lady. It's not for like world domination or anything like that.
Not to give you a film studies lesson in a nutshell, but I'll give you a film studies lesson in a nutshell. It's heavily influenced by the Dark Knight trilogy. Sam Mendes has gone on record and said that he used Nolan's films as sort of reference points to this. We talk a lot when I teach it about Silver and Bond being 2 sides to the same coin in the very similar way that Batman and Joker are. That basically, if you may imagine a crossroads and Bond and Silver are stood at 2 ends of it, Bond went one way, Silver went the other way. They're essentially the same person. And, that sort of shines through in that. And it comes from Batman and Joker, but you're going all the way back to Batman and Joker from the comic books, not just them in the films and stuff. I think this.
I probably would, yeah.
I'll be honest, Bond's a difficult one for me because I miss corny Bond a lot. I do miss the old, because before Austin Powers, it used to be a lot funnier, a lot corny. It didn't really take itself seriously. But Daniel Craig, he did. I think this was when he really started to win me over. Casino Royale didn't, but this, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go first.
I think that's good.
I won't fight it, but I'm not a massive fan of Skyfall. There's something about the 2 sides of the same coin stuff that doesn't interest me. I don't need the good guy to have a connection with the bad guy, like a personal connection like that. It really annoys me in like detective dramas when it's like, oh, the detective's got all these problems and it means that he understands the mindset of the bad guy. I don't need them to. And it feels tired and I don't like it. And I didn't like the what's it called? Home Aloneing the house at the end of Skyfall. I understand it's really fun, and I also understand that lots of people like it as their favorite Daniel Craig Bond. My favorite's Casino Royale, hands down, and I'm not that much of a fan of any of his other ones.
I still think No Time to Die should be on this list.
Oh, 100%.
I'm surprised it's not reached a billion. Yeah, it's Skyfall did. I'm surprised No Time to Die.
Because of where it came out, it was September 21, so it was as people were getting back into the cinemas, and a lot of people just weren't wanting to go, you know.
And it had been bumped several times, so the excitement for it had disappeared, because I'd already seen trailers for it like a year in advance. It felt like...
I'm also surprised Spectre didn't as well. Off the back of this, I'm not saying Spectre's a good film, but off the back of this, I'm surprised Spectre... Maybe the word of mouth got around quite quickly that it wasn't as good.
I think Spectre got close, but, you know, close and no cigar. I'm just going to check. The next one, if you want to sort of prep your conversations, is Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
I find it crazy that this is the one that got there, because Two Towers is so... I mean, it's good, but Two Towers...
It's the hype that builds up, isn't it, Mike?
I am completely with you. To me, this is the weakest of the trilogy.
Oh, it is, but at the same time, it's still a first.
The weakest
of the climax, isn't it?
The weakest of an amazing trilogy. Is still
the best trilogy of all time.
Yeah,
the best trilogy of all time, and I'm saying that as a Star Wars fan.
No, I would absolutely agree.
Shall we first it for what it represents ultimately?
It deserves to be there.
Not just what it represents. I think it's a great film. We're just comparing it to two other great films, and it is ever so slightly lacking against those, but better than the vast majority.
The only interesting debate with Lord of the Rings is what's the better film, Fellowship or Two Towers, and both answers are correct.
I go Fellowship.
Georgia would go Fellowship. I'd go
Fellowship.
There's something about Fellowship that I really like. But
George's argument is she just loves that beginning bit where the team's getting together. Like that's one of her favourite things in film. She loves
Helm's Deep. Nothing else touches Helm's Deep.
It is
Helm's Deep and Gollum.
Yeah, right. A weird one that ended up in this list. I don't know about what you think. Number 27, Aquaman.
You know what? I quite liked Aquaman.
To be fair, I've not seen it, so I can't really judge it on that. But I'm so surprised.
It did a good job of, because you know it was around the time DC was being criticised for being like really dark and gloomy, and it did a decent job of balancing it. Patrick Wilson's great in it as the villain who's like Arthur's half brother. Cast is all good in it. The world building in it is quite good.
I think it
Pretty
came
out
out
of the mill, but it's
an opportune time because it was a Christmas release. So I'm assuming that had a lot to do with, you know, it getting a billion and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's no chemistry between him and Amber Heard, which
there's not, because it's Amber Heard.
Yeah, she's got nothing behind her eyes.
Michael, have you seen this?
I have. It's probably like a 2-2 because it's.
I'd say that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is. It's just King Arthur, though, isn't it? It is just. That's why it's fun, because it's the story of King Arthur.
Yeah.
You know, just underwater. That's it.
Oh God! Oh Jesus! I'm going to revoke my musical theatre card. Who plays Mary Poppins? Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews voices a Cthulhu monster in it.
I went straight to Emily Blunt then.
Like, if anything, it should be a 2-1 because Julie Andrews voices a Cthulhu. Like, come on.
I haven't seen it, but that makes me want to see it.
Holly's in. Number 26, and I sort of stopped myself from doing the thing that I did with Jurassic Park for this one. Captain America: Civil War.
Get it up there.
Can I put it straight up there?
Get it up there.
I'm not going to argue. Yeah.
Where is it? Where are you, boys?
Oh, you just passed it.
Where?
Next to Minions, bottom row, second one.
That's right. It's so
Jamie has very strong opinions on Civil War.
Jamie does have very strong opinions on
I'm very sorry about the noise in the background. I'm being an absentee mother. I've just put him in his playpen and he's chucking stuff around,
Just
covering everything in banana.
I know he likes it.
I think one of my favourite things about Civil War is how Chris Hemsworth is still not over the fact that he wasn't included. He still brings it up every now and again in interviews. And
to be fair, though,
the memes were really good.
Yeah,
the memes about it were so good.
Yeah, he would break that film, whichever side he's on would win.
Yeah.
Just the
same reason Hulk's not there.
where they're both like side by side, like West Side Story, about to run at each other, and he comes down in a bolt of lightning and just goes, "Pack it in, you lot,
friends. Why are you fighting?"
It would essentially be when Vision was made, wouldn't it? Like when Vision was made, he just comes in. Vision's getting made. Tough. Veto. Done.
We don't need him.
I remember seeing like a Reddit post actually about the funniest thing about Thor is that he's actually really smart, but nobody thinks he is because he's a himbo. Yeah. And he just he's like this really well-read jock, basically within the Marvel universe. It's great.
He's like 1,000 years old, isn't he?
So he's like really knowledgeable.
He talks about his school. He talks about he learned to speak to Groots as an elective on Asgard.
Yeah, that's one of the bits of evidence they give about how he's actually really smart.
I just love
which now doesn't make sense because
he finds video games and does what we'd all do when we find video games. Right, I think we're about halfway. We're on good time. Okay,
we can do it.
We can do this. Number 25.
One's be easy. It's got to be a fail on it. Has to be. Can't not be.
I'm not.
Sorry, Gemma.
It's so. I get why it was made because I am
so funny.
I have no doubt this makes them so much money in merchandising, and they'll keep pumping them out as long as that money keeps coming in. But yeah,
you know what else makes a lot of merchandising? Cars. Terrible films.
Yeah. Let's just stop making films and let's just keep making merchandise. Keep making those bed sets. Fine. Yeah. Number 24, Iron Man 3.
The problem is it's the worst Iron Man, isn't it? It is the worst Iron Man film.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Iron Man 2's worse.
Iron Man 2's bad.
I'd say the on par. I'd say Iron Man 2's got a bit more.
But Iron Man 2, like, kind of a more literal take on what Holly hated before. One of the problems with Iron Man and one of the problems with Marvel for years is that the villain was literally just a carbon copy of the hero, but bad.
I guess so.
And then Iron Man 3 was probably one of the first like standalone films. I know that Avengers kind of did it with Loki and Shari, but Iron Man 3 was one of the first standalone films where the villain wasn't just our hero, but the bad version. It was a different take on it, and you had to adapt to that. Like, I quite liked the Extremis and how it worked. And
I hated the Mandarin switcheroo. The only redeeming factor of that is
like the fact that they
waited.
Yeah, they wait.
Yes.
Yeah, I did like them bringing him back in Shang-Chi as well. Actually, I will give you. But it's similar to. Yeah, it's just, you get Ben Kingsley to play your villain, and then you don't use him as your villain. Why?
Yeah, that for me is what, like, because then the whole like I am the Mandarin, and then Pepper just knocks him out.
That's a bit.
And then Pepper's got extremist powers, but it's just never mentioned again.
No, they cure it. They cure it at the end. They do address it, but he gets rid of it. He cures it.
I know, but like he knows how to stabilize it, so why not keep the powers but in the stable form? Because he does learn how to do that, but he's like, no, we'll just get rid of them.
Because that would break the universe. If Tony could have extremists and then snap his fingers, he wouldn't have died. So they couldn't have had him have that.
I guess, yeah. I think it's back. I've not seen Secret Invasion yet, but I think Extremis is back in Secret Invasion at some point. So I'll have to look. But it's not totally gone from the universe. I mean, I have no. I just feel like it's not as good as Iron Man 1's the one that should be there. That's the one that deserves it.
2-1.
No, it's not a 2, Adam. It's not a 2-1.
It's not a third, though.
That's too high. It's not. I
think the script is great. Shane Black.
Yeah, Shane Black's great.
You know, it's not his best script, but it's got sparky dialogue. It's got interesting story points that you wouldn't expect. in that kind of film.
Do we
I'm
not
happy
have
with a
this on
2-2.
Yeah.
It is better than
I could go 2-2.
Okay. Third's Ash.
All right, yeah, fair.
Oh, here we go. Number 23, The Fate of the Furious.
I'll be honest,
It's number 8. That's
I
why
love
it's
this
fake.
franchise so much. I do. It's so bad, but it's just so good at the same time.
I've not seen this one. I've seen 7, so I can talk about 7 later when we get to 7. But
I've not seen them, but
I'm now at the point where I've still not seen the first one. I've not seen 8, 9, or 10. I've seen all the other ones.
I will say, going off what we've been doing so far about is it a good movie and like taking nostalgia out of it, and the fact that I'm just invested in the franchise now, and even the latest one, it's so ridiculous, but I'll still go and watch the next one, no matter how ridiculous they make it.
Yeah.
But it's not, objectively, it's not a good film.
Okay.
It's not. They just started to really buy into that family vibe, and they've got us invested in the characters so they can kind of do whatever. It's like soaps, and people have been watching soaps for 30 years and they can't stop, no matter how bad they get. Yeah. It's that, but movie version. He's basically Ken Barlow.
Yes, he is.
That's the best take on Fast and Furious films I've ever heard.
Yeah, fair.
Wherever
I've
you
not seen it, so I think we give Michael ultimate say on this one, unless he puts it in first.
I haven't seen it.
I'd say it is fun. So maybe like a low 2-2. I don't know if it's quite a third, because it is fun to watch. Like if it's like, the Mission Impossible films have also got equally ridiculous, but they're still really fun to watch.
They're actually quite good films, though, the Mission Impossible.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. They're objectively better than this, but they have that same problem of, well, the last one we did this ridiculous stuff. How do we top that?
Yeah.
And now he's doing more. He's not driven a car in space yet. But so he's not gone as far as they did. But eventually,
because nothing is stronger than the power of family.
This is contention, I think, between me and Ollie, because I think we have very different views on it. Number 22, Incredibles 2.
I haven't seen it. I've seen the first one, and I love the first one.
Right, it is a marked drop off from the first one. There's no denying that. But I think
it's very good.
I think it's very good. I think animation's fantastic. The story's intriguing. The way it manages to get like a Lex Luthor type villain in there for a kid's film is quite good. The villain has a point that Pixar is always really good at doing. I think it's probably Brad Bird's if you immediately think of Brad Bird films like Incredibles, Iron Giant, and this as like the 3 big ones. This is the weakest. Protocol. Say again.
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
And Ghost Protocol, yeah, sure. But I'm thinking more animated because he has the same what the people look like as well. But it probably is the weakest out of those, but looks great. Characters are great in it. Story is fun. There's a good element of mystery. The only big complaint I've got is that I feel like they waste a really good design of a villain in what you think the screenslaver looks like. I wouldn't put this higher than a 2-2 in this list.
Okay.
But I think 2-2 is fair based on what... I don't think it's better. I would argue it's better than Dark Knight Rises, but I'm not going to try and argue this into a 2-1. But I think it's better than Phantom Menace and Aladdin and Dead Man's Chest and that.
Holly, have you seen it? Okay. Right, I'll match you at a 2-2 then.
Where would you have had it? A third?
I don't know. Maybe. But I'm not too fussed about it being in a 2-2. Right, number 21. This may cause contention, but I know that the person who it mainly would cause contention to, she's not seen it. The 2017 remake of Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, I mean you.
I have seen it.
Oh, you have seen it? I thought you hadn't.
No, I have seen it.
I'll defer to you then. Would.
It's shocking, isn't it? No,
so it's not like this.
Yeah, it's not fair to say it's shocking. The animated film is one of my favorite films of all time. So obviously I'm going to have a strong reaction to this. And I actually took students to the cinema to see this.
Now I remember.
And
I thought you'd not seen it. Now I remember you. Yeah.
No, and it was when I was in Malaysia and they were all kind of Saudi men in their 30s who came to see Beauty and the Beast with me, and were having so much fun. It was really, really like a really funny afternoon. And everyone loved it. And I was kind of buoyed along with this because a lot of the adult students that I've taken to the cinema and done activities with, they like haven't been to the cinema ever before. So it was, I had a really good time because a lot of the people I was in the cinema with had never been to the cinema before in their life. And it was like transformational moment. And then I went and saw it again afterwards with friends, and I really didn't like it the second time. I just think, although there are very competent like filmmaking, standards in there, I think the sets are great, the cinematography is great, the CGI is not bad. I don't think it's wonderful, but it's not bad at all. The acting is good. One of the really, really important things in a film like Beauty and the Beast or any of the Renaissance Disney films is great singing. And we do not have great singing in this. We really, really don't.
We do in places. Where you've got where you've got Luke Evans and Josh Gad taking it. Gaston is incredible.
Gaston is great. He's absolutely fantastic casting. Really, really good. But even Be My Guest.
Oh, that's so ruined.
Yeah. It didn't go anywhere near where it should be.
McGregor doing his best. Oh, I am French.
Yeah. It had just a little bit of the problem I have with the idea of Lion King, although I haven't seen Lion King, but the idea of it is in they wanted photorealistic furniture. So
you lose so much character.
You lose so much. Lumiere is my heart. I love him. And in this, he just looks like he doesn't
He's too static. Yeah.
Way too static. Not just emotionless. Not Ewan McGregor's performance, but just what you're looking at. And I think that spoilt it a little bit. A few of the things they added, they make the Beast really petulant, which I really didn't like. I know what they were trying to do was give him more of a reason why he was cursed. They were trying to give him a bit more backstory and make it a bit more believable that he was like an awful person and has growth. But it didn't work for me at all. I thought he was very dismissive of Belle in many places in the film where he isn't in the cartoon. I didn't like him. I didn't think he deserved his redemption in this, which is a big thing for me because I love the Beast and I love that redemption story in the cartoon.
I do think though, to back for it a little bit, I do think this one's got some of the strongest like added songs, the ones that weren't in the original. Like I really like Maurice's little song, and I like the element that he's got this kind of air of sadness about him compared to I like bumbling old cartoon silly Maurice, I do, but I think that was an interesting different set. And Kevin Kline, God bless him, he does a really good job of it. I love the Beast song as Belle's leaving as well because it just gives the Beast a bit more to do in the sense that this is like a musical. Like we can argue about whether or not I'd say it's got more point to it than Speechless in Aladdin as an example.
Your face.
No, you know what I think about that song? It's pointless.
Speechless.
But there were some really odd choices for what they added because it's a pretty long film for a children's film, and I understand that they want to pad it out with a bit more characterization for the Beast. But I really was perplexed by the decision to go into the backstory of Belle's mother. I didn't feel that was necessary. I don't think it added anything to Belle's character. That time could have been spent making the story of the Beast and the other people in the castle and the curse that they went through a bit more believable and his transformation a bit more believable. But instead they go into this character that we didn't have in the cartoon and doesn't change how I feel about Belle or Belle and her father's relationship. It just felt unneeded. And the whole thing about the book and the map that takes you anywhere in time and space, that feels like plot destroying.
Weird impact on, it was instead of a mirror, wasn't it? Which a couple of strange choices, a couple of great things, particularly Gaston and LeFou I thought were great, and I could watch those two all day. It's not awful, but I would be tempted to how I feel about it, I would be tempted to put it in a third, but I think it's probably a 2-2. I'd agree with a third, actually.
Okay.
I'd say it's as good as Aladdin at least. I think.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's got the problem that all the live action adaptations are going to have is that why were they even made? I mean,
there's no point. There's no point. Yeah,
let's do to it, and then we can.
Like, it didn't need to be made because it's never going to surpass the original in the minds of anyone who grew up with the original.
If you're going to remake Disney films, you should be doing it with the ones that work. Like Lady and the Tramp wasn't a bad remake because it was a film that had been long enough, and it is a new way of telling it and showing. And yeah, you could still argue it's a bit pointless, but that's also it's like Jungle Book.
Just tell us original stories. Like give us something new.
Right, number 20 is Frozen, the first Frozen. I'll be honest, first time I saw this, I wasn't that impressed at all. Ruby likes it, obviously. The stage version blows the film out of the water. Like, Jesus Christ. It's me and Amy were both like, we're not expecting much from it, but we enjoyed it, I think, more than Ruby did. It's become one of those like cultural zeitgeisty things, I think, where when someone finally does a retrospective of like the 2010s, this will be definitely in with Let It Go and all that kind of stuff. I think my gut reaction is 2-2, but I think I'm being harsh there.
I do think this is one of those films that, because I know I'm criminal for this. When someone, like with Hamilton, when everyone is telling you that this thing is amazing.
Very careful.
And you're just like, really? And that's Frozen for you. Everyone is around. Right, but you know what I mean, though? Like, everyone tells you, oh, Frozen's incredible. Frozen's this phenomenon. It's one of the best things you'll ever see. And you are sat there just thinking that you've missed something.
Oh, like, I think the one thing that doesn't help it is, as a dad, when we've taken Ruby to, like, Disney on Ice twice and all that kind of stuff.
That's all she's interested in.
And then when we did the Disney 100 concert earlier in the year, like, they always do a Frozen bit.
Yeah.
And, like, the last time we went to Disney on Ice, it was the sort of big encore-y final bit. Whereas every other film, and I mean every other film, Coco, bless him, Miguel got 2 minutes with his little guitar coming out and doing.
To be fair, Adam, Disney on Ice, having the Mexican themed film, having a small amount of time, and the snow themed film having quite a lot of time on the ice.
I am with you.
Makes sense.
Right, but it was themed about heroes, okay? And
is Elsa and Anna not heroes?
Well, no, they still are. My point is, Frozen got a good 25 minutes. Everything else got about 10. So it was a bit like, oh, whatever, fine.
And again, like,
Ice.
I like everyone here can probably accept that Let It Go has been overplayed to death, especially for children who are the right age. But I'm sorry, the first time I heard those opening piano notes of Let It Go, I knew they had something special. I knew that, like, honestly, like, they're like, even on like a quality of song producing level, that's some of the best stuff they've done since peak Renaissance Disney. Yeah. It just is.
Oh, no, it is. Had it not been overplayed, people wouldn't hate it as much. That's the only reason people hate it is because it was good enough to infect everything.
And then you listen to the rest of the songs, and like you're saying, Adam, it's a great stage show because it's capturing that magic from the Renaissance again properly. Like, I prefer Tangled as a film, but this is a better love letter to those Renaissance films.
Right,
because it's like
time. Calm yourself.
I reckon
it's got to be a 2-1.
I would say 2-1.
Okay,
I would say 2-1.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you. Number 19, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Oh God,
1.3 bill.
So rubbish.
It is.
They're so rubbish. All of them.
Everything about it.
Vito.
Lifeless. The acting is rubbish.
What? I like Blue.
You shut your faces.
I'll be honest, the reason I like Blue
shut your faces.
I watched. Are you sure we can't veto your veto?
You cannot veto my veto.
That is disgusting.
I didn't even realise you'd done that. That's crazy.
That
is crazy.
Film is better than all of those films in 2-2 and everything else below it.
No, I'm sorry, no, it
Yes,
isn't.
it is. Yes, it is.
Absolutely isn't.
No.
They start the film having broken up from the previous film.
What J.D. Bayona did with the aesthetic of that film alone, right, puts it there.
Right, the film doesn't know whether we should feel sad for the dinosaurs or be scared of them. Should we be trying to save them or should we be trying to let them die? The film doesn't know what it's doing.
I've seen it twice, Adam. Can't remember a goddamn thing about it.
I didn't like how instantly all three of you began bashing. So I thought, we're on film 19.
Definition of
I've
forgettable.
not used the veto yet. I'm having it.
Disgusting.
It's so bad.
Can't do anything about it. So...
Riot.
Oh, here we go.
Absolute riot.
Here we go.
Should I use my veto on Dark Knight?
Yeah, do it. Spite him. Get it in a fail.
Matthias, don't you dare. Right.
Get that down then, and we won't.
Number 18, Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Veto, 2-1. Don't care. Get it in there, because you're going to try and argue it down. Other people are going to try and argue it down.
I'd put it there anyway.
Yeah, that's where it deserves.
Right, but I'm not having Adam trying to veto it. Like, he's playing his hand. This is
He's playing his card now. He's playing his hand.
And honestly, this is one of the films I came into knowing I was going to have a veto ready for it. So I don't care. I don't feel like I'm wasting one, even though you two do agree with me. I don't feel like I'm wasting it. I'm getting it in there now because it's not like I'm trying to be reasonable. I could happily put it in first, but it has got flaws. But if you don't like this film and you cried about it to Disney, then Rise of Skywalker is your fault. So
I'm looking at the rest of them and I feel like I'm going to lose a couple of battles here now that I've used them.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
As you should.
I've made my choice. Number 17, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Can we just go straight to the top?
No, we can't.
I think it's. I love Harry Potter, and this was my biggest issues come from some of the changes from the books. The way Voldemort dies, the end of the battle between him and Voldemort in the movie is awful compared to what we should have had from the book. Voldemort being powerless for those few minutes.
He's going to veto us if we're not careful.
It's just so, and obviously, Deathly Hallows Part 1 goes nowhere. Like just so that they could split it into two parts.
I agree.
There's enough story for one film.
Part 2 is the most succinct film of the franchise in that it's the shortest of all of them, and I think it has the best sort of pacing.
It's only short because he took half the book and put it in another film.
Yeah, totally appreciate that. Right. It's my second favorite behind Azkaban, and I would call them both 5-star films. Oliver, what's your gripe with Part 2?
It's
Has Georgia left the room now? Is that why you're allowed to say this? She has, hasn't she?
No, she's upstairs. She's working. Remember, she's not a teacher. But I don't know. It just, I get why they did it, and I get the logic behind it and stuff like that. But I just remember those the first few Harry Potter films. They had this kind of color and magic about them, and the last few films visually are just dull. They're so dingy, and they shouldn't be. It's still magic.
I do think the tone of the books changes as well, though.
Oh, absolutely
to be
does.
fair,
it gets darker, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be a dark film, in terms of tone. I mean, literally looking.
You literally can't see what's going on sometimes.
It's murky. It's ugly.
I think for me the big thing is just that there were certain changes they made from the books to such good storylines. Like Harry being able to just follow him in the invisibility cloak and deflect his spells, so he was just totally impotent and powerless for those last few minutes of his life, which is so deserved. But just being dusted. I
would go 2-1.
Can we go 2-1?
I'd put it in 2-1. I won't put it below.
I would go 2-1 for Deathly Hallows Part 2. I don't hate it by any stretch. I think I was a little bit fatigued with the films as well, because it's I'd read the books. It's okay, we've got to wait for the film.
I do care about positioning now.
I noticed that. You know what? Only Oliver cares about positioning.
We'll fix it there.
Get Jurassic World at the end of that list then, Adam.
Yeah, bottom.
There you go. No, I can't. Last Jedi's there.
Oh,
No!
BA. No, it's not. Everyone here disagrees with you.
Right, number 16, Black Panther.
Yeah, it's a good film. I think
Oh,
it's one of those films that a lot of the love it got is because we just see so few films like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you take all that away from it, I mean, don't be wrong, it's definitely a low first or a high 2-1, but it isn't this amazing, groundbreaking thing it's said to be.
Okay, I'm really glad I'm not alone on that take.
I think Chadwick Boseman is great.
Yes,
I think I think Michael B. Jordan's great. I think, the whole idea of Wakanda's fantastic. I honestly love the film. I just dislike the whole, we're going to be so strict to our rules that, yes, this guy who's just turned up and said, we're going to do no tests, we're going to believe him because he's got a mouth tattoo, that he's the son of this guy, and we're going to fight him. And because he's won, we're going to say, yeah, you're king now, and you can do whatever you want unilaterally. We're really advanced, we're a really civilized group of people, but yeah, you can make these decisions that go against our culture.
And we still have fights to the death to decide our king.
We will follow you down this path that goes against our entire culture because you're now king, because you want to fight with this other guy. And then this other guy's backing him because he brought in Gollum. It's like, yeah, I brought you Gollum. Right, yes, I've got you back now. Forget my wife, my best friend, But yeah, because I brought you Annie Serkis, I'm going to back you now instead. I'm going to betray everything I've ever stood for.
Yeah.
It just, those aspects of it don't make sense.
Yeah.
This film is ground zero for the big Marvel problem of our villains are right. And so to kind of make sure that you don't completely back the villain, we have to make the villain a psychopath, even though what they're actually fighting for is right. So we have to make them do a bunch of really awful things so that you'll back the status quo, which is the Marvel hero.
Not just that, it's awful things that are completely counter to how they would go about. I want poor people to have free accommodation. Now, excuse me while I kill this kitten. That's how they're written a lot of the time.
Yeah, it is. It's just like Michael B. Jordan shooting his girlfriend out of nowhere, just turns, and then the whole him having this goal, but his goal is to I want to be the warmonger. But that's so in opposition with what he seems to want. And again, it's kind of like he's just using these really obvious CIA tactics because that's what he's been trained to do. And Martin Freeman shoehorned in there because people like Martin Freeman, so let's shoehorn him in there.
I didn't mind him.
I didn't mind him, but he didn't need to be there. His character doesn't really add anything to the story.
I wasn't here for your discussion of Barbie, but that Barbie is the Black Panther for white women.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely.
Karen forever.
This Black Panther holds a special place for me because a couple of years ago when it was first released and I was teaching film studies, I used bits of it for representation theory, and there was a student in the class at the time who, when he saw Chadwick Boseman, he did the Wakanda Forever, and someone at the back of the room, white lad, laughed at him. And this lad turned around and he said, I don't know why you're laughing. I've waited all my life to get this. You get it every other week at the cinema. And he just cut him dead. And I just thought, I'm so happy that he's sort of been able to do that and verbalize that to somebody else. I would go 2-1 if we're okay with the 2-1.
I'd say 2-1 because the story issues. I mean, the cultural impact it had, and the fact that, and again with the Barbie movie, is the fact that one of the reasons it's so good is because we just never get this real representation. We just don't see it.
Yeah,
Hollywood's so big on giving us fake representation, and that leads to things like where they go, oh, you can't be in this movie because we've already got a Latino character, so you can't be in it. And that's not diversity, that's ticking boxes. And because we don't get that, it means sometimes we can overlook certain things. And Black Panther, yes, does deserve a certain status, but if we're looking at it objectively, it's got those issues that Marvel have introduced with their villains.
Some of the CGI is real ugly as well.
Okoye is one of my favorite Marvel characters across any of the films.
And M'Baku as well, with the we'll eat you, just kidding, with vegetarians.
Vegetarian.
It's so good. I love his character so much.
Yeah.
And I was so glad at the end. I know it's not. I don't think it's in here, but the end of Wakanda Forever, his character arc is just—it's gone so
when he
well.
becomes like this advisor to Shuri. Yeah, I think I prefer Wakanda Forever in terms of the narrative.
I agree with that. Like certain characters just get really good arcs through both films, and I think it ends that really. Don't mean that film's got its issues as well, especially with the Iron Man costume, and it's ridiculous. But no, I think it's definitely still a strong 2 on this.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Next one, number 15, most recent on our list behind Barbie, Super Mario Bros.
As you know from the video game movie list, I really enjoyed this.
It's so dumb, but I love it.
I enjoyed it,
I think it's a really, really fun film. I think it's one of those films that'll age quite well, as in kids will always enjoy this film. 20 years from now, people's grandkids will enjoy it. I do think it's one of those films that will do well pretty much forever.
Yeah, I don't think it suffers with like particularly dated references like that or anything, which films like that often can.
And I think it's because the references they use is like Mario Kart, which is really, they're going to carry on.
It's quite timeless,
that'll always be fun. There'll always be Mario Kart arcade machines in places, stuff like that. I
one.
At minimum a 2-1, I think. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would not put it below that.
That seems a bit high, but I'm not going to veto it. Like, it's
no,
not a good film. It's just fun and harmless. Like,
but I think that's what it's set out to be.
Yeah, fair point.
That was its goal, to be a fun film, and it is a fun film.
Okay, yeah.
And I also liked. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go on, Michael.
I realized because at some point it looked like because like they were split up. And I was so worried they were going to do the "you left me and I'm now siding with Bowser with Luigi," and they didn't, and they just stuck together because they do always stick together no matter what.
Yeah.
I really like that they didn't bother going down that path, and they just stuck with the bond is completely unbreakable. Yeah. It's just
Charlie Day was a very underrated bit of casting for Luigi as well. Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think that initially was the thing I was most excited about as well. And then it was like, oh, Jack Black as Bowser. Oh, I bet he'll do well. No, he did not do well. He did incredibly.
Yes. Yeah. Number 14, Ollie, is one that me and you have spoken about that gets unfairly hated. And I am going to sneeze, so I'm going to say the title and then just mute my microphone a minute. Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah. I don't know why this gets hated on. Is it just that there's a bit too much Whedonism in there, and it was as it was coming out that he's not a nice man?
I don't know why people dislike it at all. I think Age of Ultron is one of the better overall Marvel films. I mean, I guess most of the Avengers films are.
I'd be happy to make the case that Ultron is the best villain they've ever made. In the MCU.
Is that like 80% because it's Spader voicing him though?
Not
Spader is God.
Definitely why.
Come on, like that's a pretty damn strong argument, Michael.
It is.
It's not just that; it's the way he delivers those lines, and it's the cadence with it. It's so menacing, and yet when he wants it to be, it's so funny. Like, and I think. He is this perfect perversion, even though he's not from the comics, because I know it's Hank Pym who makes Ultron in the comics, but it's almost like this perfect caricature of Tony Stark in Ultron as his performance, and it's perfect. I love it.
It's honest, and I think Hawkeye starts to get a personality in this, which is great, and he becomes a really, really good, well-rounded character. Cap almost lifts Mjolnir, and some people would say that he could have lifted it, but chose not to let Thor save face, stuff like that. Like,
I love that scene where they're all like trying to lift it as well. It's hilarious.
It's and then Ultron coming in, like they've got this camaraderie, they've won, and him coming in and kind of like Tony's past coming to bite him. He's kind of his own god complex has given birth to this new threat.
I think similar to what we were talking about with Return of the King before, in that it's not a bad film, but it's the weakest of the Avenger films, I think.
Yeah.
But they're all so good. That's I think Avengers Assemble is only... I would say this is better than Avengers Assemble if taken as a standalone, because Avengers Assemble is all the coming together. Finally, we've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
Oh, Holly disagrees.
I'm sorry, you guys really like this, and I really don't. I loved Avengers Assemble. It was fun. It was just fun, and this has no fun whatsoever. I felt it had no stakes. Like Sokovia is this like new country, we've never heard of it, and it just two new characters who have world-breaking powers turn up. I did not like a second of this film. I thought it was rubbish.
Right. I love Wanda and I love Vision, so that the film they come into it, I love it. It's so good.
like them when they're handled properly in the other films. I think they're great. In this one, I just do not. I really don't. I felt this was a massive fail.
My gut was 2-1 for this.
My gut was 2-1.
I wouldn't fight a 2-1. Yeah, I'd be
happy. Then I'm vetoing. It's a third.
Oh, that is so undeserving.
No, it's absolute. The internet supports me in this.
The internet is wrong.
As if it's there next to Dory.
That's where it should be. I enjoy Dory more.
Steaming hot take, Carl.
No, it is not. It is the usual take, guys. It's the usual take.
Oh, so upsetting. So
it is below some trash. There's some trash in 2-2 that I don't think should be there.
The vetoes are coming out now. Oh, here we go. Right.
I've never used a veto on this podcast ever.
I don't think I've ever felt my body sort of go as tense as it did on this podcast as ever.
It had. I think the reason why I hate this so much is it has so many wonderful ingredients. Ultron is a great villain. Wanda and Vision are great characters, as we've seen in other films, and in this one they are just so mishandled.
I'm feeling so sad.
It's no fun at all.
I do wonder what the Russos would have done with this.
Oh, it would have been amazing. It would have been amazing.
Can you imagine that, ads? If the Russos had this film instead, how good that would have been. I do accept that would be
I agree. It's not the film it could have been. It could have been so much better. But I do think I don't think it's as bad as people say. I think it's unfairly hated.
And by people, he means Holly.
and the entire internet who's backing her claim.
I'll stand by it any day of the week.
Right, number 13 is Frozen 2.
I haven't seen it, I'll be honest.
It's all right.
I mean, as much as I enjoyed Frozen, I had no...
It's the same... It's a similar argument for me. Tonally, it feels very similar to the first one, but it isn't as good. But again, I do remember thinking when I first heard Into the Unknown, and I feel like this one might not be as hated as Let It Go because it's not as overplayed. But Into the Unknown, I remember hearing, again, the opening piano bit to that and thinking, oh, they've got something here. They've really got something.
I don't even think that's
Panic at the Disco cover of that song is so good as well.
Yeah.
That might be a hot take, but it's so
No, it's fantastic. It's not hot. It's fantastic. I prefer the original, but I do love Brendan Urie's version of it. It's amazing. What do you think is the best song in it, Ads?
Lost in the Woods.
Right, but that's just weird and hilarious. And also one that really gets overlooked, and it is like a good message in the song, and it's really powerful. Do the Next Right Thing.
I don't know that well. That's the thing. Like those two songs.
Anna thinks that Elsa and Olaf are dead.
Right.
And she's singing this song about like she's broken, but she's got to keep going because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. It's one of those like you forget that Kristen Bell's like actually a very accomplished singer. And she knocks it out of the park. I'm not championing this, people. I'm saying like 2-2 personally.
Yeah, I'd go 2-2.
I think 2-2 is like it's got some good moments, but it is very much a kids' film where the plot was like. I love Olaf in this. He sings an entire song about not understanding what's going on, but it'll be fine because he will when he's older, which is quite meta.
Michael, I don't know if you caught up with this or not because you.
I did. I watched them both back to back the other day.
Maverick, number 12.
Honestly, one of the best films I've ever watched.
It's so good.
Definitely a first. Definitely a first.
Get it in first. Ollie, don't you dare. Please agree with me.
I'm not going to. I would have said 2-1, but I've not got beef with it being in a first.
Absolutely.
I think Miles Teller's performance alone would put this in a first. I think it's so good.
Yeah. Like I said this on the podcast and all this kind of stuff. I hadn't seen the first one until I saw until I
still
booked
haven't.
Maverick. I don't think you need
This
to.
is better than the first. You don't
Yeah,
watch it.
I still haven't because I know it's not going to be as good as this. And it's like,
I'm glad I watched it in that order.
being as good as it was.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's
one of those films that, like, as much as my son hates films, like he loves planes, and when he next comes down in a couple of weeks, I'm absolutely watching this again with him. I'm just going to force him to watch it because I know he'll love it. Because it's just so good.
And how
have they managed to take the plot of Star Wars 4 and get the tension from that? Oh, fly down a trench, a very exact trench. You got to go really fast, and you got to hit an exact target, and then how have they managed to do that but better? How have they improved on that?
All they needed was Tom Cruise in Miles Teller's ear going, "Use your instincts, Miles."
It's one of those films where every single person knew the assignment.
Oh,
yes. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Like
even the filmmakers knew the assignment to the point where they were like, we've made this really sort of like 80s throwback action film. Are we missing something? Oh yeah, we need a scene on the beach where they're all with their tops off playing volleyball or American football. And then we've done it. Like everything's fine then.
The only thing that leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and you can roll your eyes as much as you like, but I have to say it, is the fact that Kelly McGillis wasn't brought back because she's aged naturally. And Tom Cruise hasn't. So her being the love interest, they would look like she was older, and they couldn't have that or whatever.
Yeah, no,
but I would have loved a cameo from her, and I see no reason why they couldn't have had a cameo of her.
They were only allowed one little cameo, though.
You know, Val Kilmer, his cameo is great. But
it's so good.
It shows a little bit of the imbalance in Hollywood, that Val Kilmer is, you know, very, very ill and you know, it struggled, but he had this amazing cameo that everyone loved. But Kelly McGillis couldn't because she looks like a normal human being now and not a siren. That's the only thing that left a bad taste in my mouth.
No, that's fair.
I really enjoyed the relationship between Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly in the film, because I don't think it went too far as to be like, oh, we're overly sexualized. I think it was a believable sort of like older, mature relationship type thing. But then
as cliched as climbing out the window and seeing anyway it was still such a fun scene.
But then the thing that surprised me the most, but I actually quite liked, was after they'd done the soul, like Star Wars A New Hope, drop the bomb, do all that kind of stuff, I just assumed that was the end. Never mind the behind enemy lines bit where it turned into a spy movie for a little bit. Like I was like, I'm in for that. Yeah, I'm glad we agree.
And they just happened to have, like, what was it, an F-14, which was the one he flew in the original film. Why would this weird Russo-Chinese, like, weird country, like, because they never say where it is, but why would this country just have, like, a functioning F-14 on standby?
Do you know what I honestly think a large part of that, one was for the throwback and to have them both in the plane together, but I'm also about 90% sure Tom Cruise wanted a scene with him running, because he has to have a scene of him running in every film.
Absolutely.
And he does run well. I'll give him that.
Unless we forget, people, they did remember to include Danger Zone.
Yeah.
From the opening, that gets into a third. Anytime you're getting Kenny Loggins in there first.
Yeah. We're nearing the 2 hour point, so my idea of having 2 minutes per film clearly went out the window. Have it done.
Holly's fault. We were doing fine until she got here.
we're almost at the top 10 or the final 10, so we're all right. We'll make it through. If you're here now, you're carrying on watching, aren't you? Furious 7, number 11.
I mean, it's a third at best, isn't it? It only got as big as it did, because of the real life kind of controversy around it. That's it.
Quick time, number 10, Avengers Assemble.
I mean, it's a high 2-1, isn't it? It's a really good. It's not the best Avengers film, is it? So if you put it in first, then you're going to struggle to justify. And I'm assuming Infinity War and Endgame are there.
I can't
remember. But they're both better than it.
Yeah, they are both better.
One thing I really like about this, and some people hate it, is that Phil Coulson's death gave birth to the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series, which I love. And I love Phil Coulson as a character, and this was his kind of swan song, wasn't it, in the movies?
Yeah.
And I love that he was supposed to just be in one scene. Like, in the Thor movie, I think, and then maybe in the next, and that was it. And people loved him so much, and this was like his swan song, and I love that. But yeah, I think that it's not as good as later installments, though, and that's just because we more invested in the characters later on.
Yeah,
we just get more and more invested in them.
I'd be inclined to make it a first. I really like this. In the same way as like Empire Strikes Back is better than A New Hope, but A New Hope has a slightly different vibe and is more fun and simple storyline. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the same thing tracks for the Avengers films. And I just think this film, no one believed they could do it. Everyone thought it would be a hot mess beforehand. It's hard to remember that now because we have so much faith in Marvel, but really everyone thought this film was going to be a hot mess, and it is so much.
It's so tight.
There's nothing wasted in this film. It's really clever in how simple it is.
I'm not against that. I'm not at all.
I'd argue for it. Not enough to use my veto, but I'd argue for it.
I would say I'd be more likely to watch this again. As much as I like Age of Ultron, this is the one I'd watch again if I was going to pick one of the two to watch again.
I'm happy with the but I think like what you say, Michael, I think that ultimately tells us where we're putting Infinity War and Endgame.
I think it is high too. Like I don't know why. I can't articulate why, but it screams very high 2-1 to me.
I feel like when you've got a huge franchise, you have to judge the films against each other.
Yeah.
You can't see them all as individuals because they're not. Like, Endgame wouldn't be as good as it was as a standalone film. It is based on Infinity War being so good. And this buys, because all the origin stories are done, that's why it's so good. That's why it's so tight.
And then we'll figure it out from there. I'm concerned that I've got 2 vetoes, Ollie's got 3, Michael's got 3, and Holly's got 2, and there are only 9 films left.
We don't have to use them all, though.
It's going to be brutal.
But I'm more concerned about this next. I'm more concerned about this next film.
I watched this as well. This is another one I caught up on. I watched it with Merrick, so like he could, have someone to look up to.
2019 Lion King.
I love the original Lion King so much. It was one of my favourite films growing up. And this just left.
Ollie, you're my hero. You're my hero.
It really left a bad taste in my mouth.
Veto fail. Adam, I don't care. It's the worst of these films.
It didn't need to be made at all.
It's absolutely the one that didn't need to be made. And even within that, they made mistakes. Chiwetel Ejiofor is not Scar. You would have been better off casting him as Mufasa and getting somebody else in to play Scar.
And the thing is, the story's good because it's Hamlet, isn't it? I mean, of course it's good.
But that's nothing from the original one. And
it just, I don't know. I feel like it's going to age really badly as well. I feel like in 10, 20 years, this CGI is going to look really creepy.
And it's also...
it already does.
I've gone over this to death. It's boring. It's visually boring. The thing that makes Lion King as good a film as it is when you look at it, it looks incredible.
Yeah, when they got back to the Pride Lands, I was like, this doesn't actually look as bad as it in the cartoon when they get back to the Pride Lands at the end.
It's Chernobyl. It's horrific.
And you're like, oh my God, this is heartbreaking.
Look at the pain on Adam's face.
I don't know what, but I
your pain fuels us, Adam.
I genuinely don't know how, as a film studies teacher, you're okay with this film. I genuinely don't.
Because I understand the commercial reason why it was made. In the same,
that's a horrific reason to back a film.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not the reason why I like it. Right? The reason why I like it is because, similar to the Jungle Book, I quite like the photorealistic stuff. Right? I will admit to you now, it doesn't hold a candle to the original. Right, and my argument wouldn't have been first or even 2-1. I would have put it as a 2-2. Right, I think it's unfair to say that it was a fail, but I knew exactly where you were going with it.
Right, here's the counter argument when it comes to Jungle Book. Jungle Book changed the story beats enough that it was worth making another film again.
Jungle Book is far superior to this.
Yeah, and
if
also
Jungle Book was in this list, I would have firsted Jungle Book,
and also. It had a human character to ground these more realistic effects. And that's something that kind of works in the favor of Aladdin, of Beauty and the Beast, of The Little Mermaid. Like, you've got these human characters to ground these effects. This was just some weird attempt at making a nature documentary where the lions can talk and sing. and you can't tell what emotions they're feeling because they're not allowed to emote because they're not anthropomorphized at all because we're that desperate to give them realistic features.
I think that's the thing. I think there's so much. It's just so good, and obviously, and then Pumba's ruined. Like, where's the "They Call Me Mr. Pig"? Where was it?
Yeah, where's "They Call Me Mr. Pig"?
That is so good. I love it so much. It's so funny.
All of the joy from that original film has just been removed. All of the vibrancy, all of the life, all of the color, like it's a fail.
Right, fine. Number 8, Jurassic World.
Third.
Veto 2-1.
It's better than the other two.
Are you actually going to put it in a third?
I don't know. As someone who is as big a fan of Jurassic, like that is our joint favorite film, Jurassic Park. Yeah. That is our joint favorite film. And you look at the world films and think they even come close to that.
But I was the first person to say that I would fail Dominion, right? Fine. You're all off on one about Fallen Kingdom, right? But Jurassic World, I was on Radio 5 Live talking to Tony Livesey about Jurassic World. That's how much I enjoyed Jurassic World, right? In that, when I sat down and watched it, the nostalgia just hit me. And I know it's all fan service, right? But it's the gates, it's the, let's take the dust sheet off this. Oh my God, it's an old Jeep from the first film. Loved it, right? And I'm slightly now more concerned in that I've got one veto left and there are still 2 films on this list that I think I'm going to have to use them for. But I'm going to have to try and...
It's just, I don't know. But the thing is, all the best bits of it are just going, how's your nostalgia feel about this? Don't you feel nostalgic? Look at this. They're just picking over the corpse of a beautiful film.
But I tell you what, right? And not to make you all feel bad about your own decisions here, but this might do, right? As somebody who was going through depression in 2015, this did everything.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I'm going to bring that out. I'm going to bring that out. Yeah.
You as an individual can have an attachment to a film and like love a film.
Yes,
but I think if we're being objective, it is just failing on the
my mum died, and before she died, she told me that Jurassic World was the worst film she'd ever seen. So let's tug on your heartstrings that way, shall we? Like, should we get that in there?
I've just stubbed my toe, and I think this.
I do have a fond memory of this film because I watched this. I think I watched both with like Nella and Stephen. And I remember there's a point, and we still bully Nella about it. There's a point when Blue comes back, isn't there, at the end of Blue? And we thought they were dead. And we heard from the other side, and they're going, it's Blue, and nearly break down crying. So I have like a personal.
Where the T-Rex and Blue just nod at each other like respectful rivals.
It's so ridiculous. And I don't like the hybrid dinosaur. I hate that so much. It's like, we've made a super weapon.
The only thing I like, and I genuinely do think it is interesting, because it seems like the only step forward they took, is the idea that he's training the raptors because they're intelligent.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's good.
I do like that idea. I do. But beyond that scene where he jumps in with them and gets them back, and also, like, I do like Chris Pratt. This isn't the role for him. This is a terrible role for Chris Pratt's strength. Is him being, he's a bit of a jock and he's a bit built and, but he has this joy about him. He has this, Peter Quill, great example. Andy in Parks and Rec, great example. Bailey in Onward. They all have this kind of joy in them. And he's just, I'm this straight-laced mountaineer and, I'm a manly man. Like, no. No.
Okay, right. Number 7. I'm assuming I can take this one all the way to the top. Spider-Man No Way.
Yeah, of course you can. 100%.
Get it up there.
Yeah? Right.
Yeah.
Get it up there.
I mean, not the best film that Andrew Garfield was in 2021, but,
What was that?
Boom all the way. Tick, tick, boom all the way.
I've still not seen that.
You need to watch it.
I haven't seen that yet, and I keep getting told to watch it. Nella keeps telling me it's really good.
So good. But yeah,
I don't know. I think it was the best reaction he had to a film in 2021, though.
It definitely wasn't.
Like when he takes his mask off, and then this is enough. No, it isn't. Yes, it is.
Hollering. Oh, just everyone's gone.
I think this is one of the first film I've ever watched Endgame had it a bit because we watched this in IMAX opening weekend.
Yeah.
This was the film that had the most people around me reacting to it.
Oh yeah,
in a joyful way.
Yeah.
You kind of just allow it, don't you? Like
it was an experience to watch it, and it was. I wouldn't have wanted to watch it any other way. Because I'm not a very emotive person. Like I'm not a very physically emotive person. So all these people were kind of emoting how I felt inside, but I'm not very good at showing. And that was quite nice to experience and be part of.
Ollie talked about it before as well, like Marvel problem, villain with a point. And I love that this is a return to, we have a villain who's just a bit of a dick. Yeah. Like that's his whole thing. We've got Green Goblin back. And that scene where he's laughing. So good. Where he's laughing in Peter's face as he's just being punched repeatedly in the condo. I genuinely got chills.
Yeah. I think they did Jamie Foxx so much better as well. They redeemed that character so well.
Redemption is the right word for sure. Like Andrew Garfield stole the film for me, and I haven't seen The Amazing Spider-Man. I haven't seen his films. It made me want to see them because he was so fabulous in it. And the in-jokes about how his film was received and the way Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland spoke to him. Yeah. I know it's a bit cheesy, but I really liked it. I thought they did it well. There's a lot of fan service in there done well. Yeah. And I don't love multiverse stuff. It goes very silly, very quick. But this did it really nicely for me.
It's so much that it's about to do,
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Oh, just I mean, the bit where he saves Zendaya, just God. Yeah, just.
And like you said, you've not seen it, so like you're not an idiot. You know what the context of it is, but like, because I remember me and Adam talked about it. Most heart-wrenching moment in any Spider-Man film is where he doesn't get Gwen, he doesn't save Gwen. And to see, like you were talking about there, that redemption for him.
It's so visceral as well, isn't it? It's such a
bits.
The sort of whip crack of
it's so it felt out of place. Oh, it's
Have you seen the interviews where Tom Holland like gives it away?
I haven't actually. No,
it's hilarious. So it's that. I think he works with BBC, and he's got glasses, and he's got a really neat trim beard. And he's interviewing Andrew Garfield, and he's really good at like telling stories to the people he's interviewing, rather than being the one just asking questions. And he's saying, I was interviewing Tom and Zendaya, and they were recounting things, and it was like, oh, the Statue of Liberty scene where you were falling off, and Tom says, oh, I wasn't there, but it looked really scary. And then there's this moment later on where you just see his soul leave his body, because it's like. Oh, I wasn't the Spider-Man that you see in that scene. Oh.
It had this thing that, like, they didn't announce it beforehand, but everyone thought it was coming. Everyone felt it was coming because we knew certain things. So it wasn't a certainty at all. And then the minute that your cinema screen that you were in erupted when you saw Andrew Garfield, there was just a sort of, like, collective, like, yeah, we're all in this now. Like, we're all in it. Right, final 6. We are into $2 billion territory here. So Avengers Infinity War, we all know what we need to do.
It's got to be on it.
We've just got to get it over.
It's probably the best.
My lukewarm take is that this is the best one.
Yeah, it's 100% the best Avengers movie of them all.
Because I think the Endgame works because of all the work that you've put in watching the MCU up to that point. Yeah, and I think you can't go into that without having done that. So for me,
set the stakes for Endgame so high.
Oh yeah. For me, this is my favorite part 1, part 2 of any film ever. Like,
and I think this is one of the only times I think breaking into 2 parts was justified.
Yes. Yeah.
Because usually I hate it, but with this, it's like it made sense because that was a story we've lost. It's over, and then it's a new story in the future. How do we rebuild and how do we come back from this? It's just so good.
Right. Number 5, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Now this was
I like this, but it's just a New Hope again, isn't it?
This was one of the films that I mentioned before about tracking how well it was doing at the box office, because it was the first time in ages that a film was crawling towards $2 billion. And I was like, it's gonna get there, it's gotta get there. This is a first for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
just
thank
A
you.
New Hope again, isn't it? And it's a good story told again.
I've said this to these two on these
all the
podcasts.
issues come after this for me.
Yeah, that like this is my favorite of the Star Wars films.
I do get that.
But this
There are issues with it. It's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. The way Finn can use a lightsaber and stuff, and
yeah, similar to you, Michael, in that I don't know if I watched the original trilogy before I saw Phantom Menace, but the prequel trilogy was sort of my introduction to it, and then you go back and you do the other stuff, and you've got the games, and you've got all that bit. When I watched Force Awakens, I was like, this is everything that I wanted Star Wars to be.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a solid film.
The feeling I got in the cinema watching this was just, oh my God, this is Star Wars. This is how it's supposed to make me feel. It's back. I felt so much like hope for the other ones. Like,
can you imagine if the whole trilogy had been like this? It would have been. Would have been one of the best trilogies of all time. They have the potential
to live up to Edgelord a little bit, but only a little bit, because obviously this is a first. I do think that you could actually say the problems that come up later do start with this one.
They do a little bit with
it's JJ and his mystery box. Star Wars doesn't need a mystery box.
Yeah.
It's JJ being like, "Oh, who are Rey's parents?" And then Rian Johnson's got to be like, "Well, it doesn't matter what theory I go with. I'm going to annoy somebody, so screw it. The parents are no one." And then JJ's like, "Whoa, slow your roll there, guys." When Kylo said that, he was being like Obi-Wan Kenobi in Return of the Jedi. "Oh, what I told you was true from a certain point." No, but. And like my favorite thing about this, because me, Adam, and Holly talked about this in depth in our Star Wars review. I think the best thing about this, the most impressive thing about this, is how every single Star Wars fan liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So like people who had never seen a Star Wars film before liked this film. People who were like a bit familiar with Star Wars liked this film. People who had seen all the films however many times liked this film. People who'd read every single like comic and article on Wikipedia liked this film. Like this, like for any film to universally impress a fan base as varied and frankly gatekeepy as the Star Wars fandom, that's bloody impressive. So easy first.
This was, I think I mentioned this on the Star Wars one. This was one of the only films that I remember coming out of it with friends on the Friday, seeing one of the same friends on the Saturday and going, "I'm going to go back on Monday and watch it. Do you want to do it?" And
yeah. I watched this back to back really quickly because I remember going to see it with Georgia, and again, emotional Ollie just crying at the end of it. Basically, what Holly was saying as well, like, "Oh my God, Star Wars is back! I've waited so long for this. I've been so hyped."
It's so good in it. Like Poe and Finn are so good in it. Kylo Ren is a bit moody, but overall quite a good villain.
Yeah.
You know, it is just so good. Every beat pretty much hits where it wanted to hit.
Yeah,
I love that everyone who knew anything about Star Wars saw Harrison Ford in the trailer and was like, "Oh, he's going to die in this film." That's the only way he's coming back, is if he gets to die.
It's not people who know anything about Star Wars. It's people who've ever seen an interview with Harrison Ford. There's absolutely no chance he ain't just doing this for a paycheck and getting the hell out of it.
It's crazy how much he hates that character, though, because it's such a good character.
I don't think he hates the character. I think
everything.
He hates the fan obsession with it. He doesn't have that hatred towards like Blade Runner. He doesn't have that hatred.
He loves Indiana Jones though, and there's a fan obsession with Indiana Jones. It's just not
in the same way though.
No. It's not like a bigger following, has it? That's all.
No,
he's not got the sci-fi.
It's not as obsessive. Like I remember that same guy who was interviewing Andrew Garfield. I think it was him, and he in the build up to Force Awakens, he interviewed Harrison Ford, and he said, "So who shot first, Han or Greedo?" And Harrison just goes, "I don't care."
Yeah.
It's like bad play, mate.
Right, number 4, Titanic.
Right.
I mean,
Titanic.
The thing with the Titanic is it's a real event, isn't it? Like it really was a massive, monumental, like history capturing. I mean, people are still going down in submarines, risking their lives now. You know.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that.
You know what I mean? That's how big an event it is. So it couldn't not be great. I do think the stuff with the old woman's a bit annoying.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that didn't need to be there. They could just told the story because it is an epic story. We needed a lens to see it through, and I get that. We just didn't need the stuff in the present day, I don't think. That being said, I mean, it's an excellent film.
Yeah,
it's such a spectacle.
I do remember someone suggesting, like, if you're gonna have a love story in there, it was accusing James Cameron of having very one-dimensional characters in there. You know, like, these are the good characters, these are the bad characters, and like he said, if you're gonna have that in there, how much more interesting would it have been if, like, Billy Zane's character was actually played by an older actor, and it was very much a case of he was lovely, but he was being forced to remarry from his family's side, you know, get a kid and whatever. And he completely kind of understood why Rose didn't want to marry him. And he was like, he was sad about it, but he wasn't the villain. And it's almost the David Warner character becomes the villain because he's got it in for Jack. And it explains why they have such an animosity with each other. But then they
just make sure the show is bad at the end as well, where he gets on the boat with the little girl and stuff, and he's like, "I'm all she's got." And then he just like pushes her aside once she's on the boat because he's just not a nice man in any way. Yeah. And they just wanted to make sure he has no redeeming qualities.
I think this was one of those as well, because I think Jurassic Park was similar. It was one of those where, weirdly, movies were able to advance science. So, like, the paleontologists who they consulted for Jurassic Park were given access to, like, top-of-the-line computers that they did not have access to otherwise because Hollywood was paying for it. Because Steven Spielberg was like, I want these dinosaurs to move as realistically as possible. So he gave them access to computers that allowed them to model dinosaur movement in a way that was way better than they could have ever dreamed of. I think it was something similar in this. Like,
well, it's like James Cameron built his own sub, didn't he? Like, not by hand, but he, like, with all this Ocean Gate stuff, he was talking, and people were like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, no, I really do. Yeah, because I've really been down there in a sub myself. Like, a sub, and like, he really did do his research. He really did get people in, and they worked out how the boat would have broke and stuff like that. And they simulated it. And we kind of, because everyone knew about the Titanic. It's always been a famous story. But to, like, see it and be like, this is actually what the experience is, how it would have been.
And it's that idea again of we didn't have as clear an idea of how the Titanic sank in terms of it snapping in half and then how long it took and then it dragging. Like, they didn't know that until this film, because they were able to do it. And like, it's that second half of the film, because it's two very different films. You've got this weird, you know, attempt at an Austen-style love story that Holly could tear apart for days if we let her, and we could let her. Like, why not? And then the second half of the film,
Ollie, time.
Yeah, the second half of the film is just excellent. It's almost like a horror film.
Oh yeah,
and like the tension racks up, and you see all the dead bodies in the water. It's horrifying.
I feel like Adam's building up to a veto because he's got a look on his face.
Yeah, veto. It's a fail.
No,
Adam.
It's
my critical darlings top 10. It's awful. It is awful. It is an awful.
Crazy. It is absolutely crazy.
I could feel you were going to do that, and I should have vetoed first. Yeah. I could feel it rising. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just said veto.
It's awful.
I'd have put it in 2-1, but
it's just a terrible film.
Oh yeah, I put it in.
It's not.
It's just so like soppy and just saccharine, and like I'm not interested.
Hundreds of people died. Like, they actually died.
The first half of it, I agree with you. That first half, that love story in there, it's kind of pointless. But I guess
chemistry is amazing.
Oh yeah,
it's absolutely amazing.
Real talk. How have Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio not just ended up as a real life couple? Because they're so good together.
She's way too old.
That's what it is. Had she not aged, he'd have been fine with it. But
but no, just I'm gonna talk more, I think, on the Critical Darlings pod. So it's just not good. Right, final three. Let's do this. Number 3, Avatar: The Way of Water. Has anyone actually seen this?
I've not seen it.
I've not seen either of them. I just do not care about the Avatar.
I would
franchise.
argue the fact that none of us have had any strong urge to watch this could consider it a failure. But
I think that even people who watch it and like it talk about how it's about the effects, but the story's really generic. Even people who love it
because of Avatar, you've not, it's not. Endgame's
apparently it's the same story again.
Endgame is a first.
100% the first.
Endgame's the first. We all know that. And I mean, James Cameron re-releasing Avatar just to pip Endgame again is dick move.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hate Avatar.
It's Pocahontas in space.
Yeah,
like, if you don't like Pocahontas, you're not going to like. It's not even a good version of Pocahontas as well, because
Yeah,
at least
Pocahontas is
at least
great,
in Pocahontas, the lead character's a female. They even take that away in this. Like,
and Colors of the Wind is one of the best Disney
is a
songs
banger,
ever
yeah.
written.
And Savages is a banger as well.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Just Around the River Bend is one of George's favorite Disney songs, so I'm going to
so good.
for
It's
that
just
a bit.
as a musical, Pocahontas is amazing. It's so good.
I haven't heard Avatar being likened to Pocahontas. I've always heard it being likened to Fern Gully,
which is basically also Pocahontas.
Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a generic story, isn't it?
It's just meet the natives. That's it.
Yeah.
I showed it to students because we've been reading Things Fall Apart in Year 8, which is an excellent book, but it has themes of colonialism. And the only film that I could think of to show that had any themes like that was available was Avatar. And I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I didn't hate it. I saw it when it was in the cinema and was a bit meh, but thought the effects were great and everything everyone says about the effects. But
I would
rewatching it,
what you say about the highest grossing movie of all time is I didn't hate it.
Well, yeah, of course,
doesn't it?
But yeah. I don't think we could put it in a fail, and I don't think we could put it in a third. It's better than that.
I don't have
it's
any.
Enjoyable.
I hate it mainly because I agree with you in that it does look amazing, right? And some of the sort of cinematography and the shots of it, the effects all look amazing. Story-wise, it's absolute naff.
And that does matter. It does matter. That
matters so much.
I mean, it's basic. It's not naff. It's not one of those stories that doesn't make sense. It's just basic and it's been done 1,000 times.
There's story theory, like not to get all, English teachery, but there are theories that there are only 7 stories. Yeah. This is a very, very basic hero's journey style story with this colonialism element, which we've seen many times before. That doesn't make it bad. You can do classic stories. Sorry, Jamie is throwing heavy things around.
You fight your mum, Jamie. Agree with me.
You can do simple stories well. Like we just put Force Awakens, really high up. And that is a very simple story.
It is, ads. It's a simple story. Come on.
Avatar.
No, in terms of the story skeleton.
It's a basic hero's journey, yeah.
Now, yeah, Avatar is not as good as that, I don't think. But there are bits which are spectacular. Little bits which are spectacular.
Pandora is an interesting world to explore.
Right. We are nearing an Avatar length podcast. So
I think third is a fair compromise.
I won't argue. I mean, I've not seen it. It's one of those things I've not seen it, but I kind of know everything that happens in it because of how big it was culturally.
I've got to go third mainly because I put it in a fail. So, yeah.
I think that's fair. I think it is it's interesting to look at, but it's one of them. If you don't care about CGI effects, do you reckon it's one of those that would have been better if it was just like a cartoon?
Maybe.
If they hadn't bothered trying to get live action actors in there and stuff like that, if it had just been almost like Disney that had done it, then it'd be better.
Yeah, probably not.
Right. I'm not faffing around with the positioning of things, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each tier, and Ollie, you've got 2 left. Michael, you've not used any. Holly's got 2 left. If you want to do it, right. So, fail. Jurassic World Dominion, Despicable Me 3, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Toy Story 4, Rise of Skywalker, Transformers Age of Extinction, Transformers Dark of the Moon, Minions, The Lion King, Titanic, Avatar Way of Water. Third, Hobbit Unexpected Journey, Alice in Wonderland, Finding Dory, Avengers Age of Ultron, Furious 7 and Avatar. 2-2, Phantom Menace, Aladdin, Pirates...
Oh, she's vetoing Aladdin.
No.
Pirates. Phantom Menace.
Pirates. Dead Man.
The first Pirates, Curse of the Black Pearl, absolutely brilliant. So much fun. like really great start to a franchise. All of the others, dross, rubbish, terrible. Third.
Oh, don't be hating on Davy Jones.
Ugh.
He's an incredible character.
Right.
It's not that I hate the character. The film that the character is given to work with.
Right. So Dead Man's Chest is now third. Finishing the two.
Right.
Captain Marvel, Aquaman, Iron Man 3, The Fate of the Furious, Incredibles 2, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen 2. 2 ones, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Zootopia, Zootropolis, Rogue One, Toy Story 3, Dark Knight Rises, Spider-Man Spider-Man Far From Home, Frozen.
Veto.
What?
Zootropolis up.
Okay.
Zootropolis up.
I'm all right with that. I really enjoyed Zootropolis.
Spider-Man Far From Home, Frozen, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Black Panther.
There's so many I want to veto, but they've already had the veto put on them, so we can't. Those are like the main ones where I'm like...
Other than these last 2 vetoes, every veto hurts me.
Jurassic World. And then first list, Dark Knight, Jurassic Park, Barbie, Joker, Skyfall, Lord of the Rings Return of the King, Captain America Civil War, Top Gun Maverick, Avengers, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avengers, Infinity War, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Endgame, and now Zootropolis.
I would say, as much as I like Zootropolis, when you read that list out and end it with Zootropolis, it feels wrong.
But again, like, I struggle to find a fault with it. Acting's great, world building's great, story's great, characters are great.
Yeah.
Can I propose a new rule about the vetoes, which might mean that Michael can use one? I know you've said you can't veto a veto because it would just keep going. How about you can use 2 of your vetoes to veto someone else's because you feel so strongly about it?
I thought about this yesterday, right? In that I wouldn't say if you've got 2 vetoes of your own, you can veto a veto. I would say if you can get
2 people
to use the veto with you as well, you can fight against. Fine.
I like the idea of using 2 veto points to undo someone's 1 veto. So, Michael, you've got a choice. Which one are we saving? Which one are we bringing down? Are you going to go positive for Titanic, or are you bringing a Jurassic World down?
I feel like Titanic in fail is really unfair.
I've got 1 veto left. I'll add mine. We can use 3 to bring it up.
I think Titanic is at minimum a 2-1.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with saying it's not a first, but it's so, and like you said, the second half of that film, when they're in the water and the lights go out, and it might be that I'm a little bit afraid of open water, but I mean that film might be why I'm afraid of open water. It's terrifying. You look at it and you think that actually happened, and that is horrifying.
Absolutely ludicrous.
It's the implication that you think that Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom are infinitely better than that film.
They are.
Which is
crazy.
Just alien to me as a concept. How are you trusted to teach kids about film?
I can't believe you of all people like Titanic.
Why?
Because it's naff.
Right, again.
It's the backlash to the backlash now, Adam. Get with it.
It is, yeah, and I can't do anything about it. And I've been outnumbered and ganged up upon on my own podcast.
And also, Kathy Bates is Molly Brown. What a girl.
Oh, just right, whatever. Right, we're going to wrap this up because, again, we're now 2.5 hours in, and there goes my idea of getting it done in an hour and a half. I've got to take a suit to Manchester. It's not happening. Right.
It's why you need to start editing or start doing little clips like YouTube Shorts, like all the others do.
You know, YouTube Shorts only lets you do a minute at a time.
Whoa.
Yeah, because the clips.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be a minute.
I'm not chopping this up into minute chunks.
What you need to do
is at the start of a minute and the end of a minute. There's no point.
What you need to do is get a button. Like, you'd have to get like a stream deck like I've got. But if there's a bit that you like, you think, oh, that was a really good minute, you press a button, it marks it in the video. And then you can go back and you can grab that minute. I just press a button on my stream deck if I'm recording something, and it records the last minute of whatever was on my screen.
Right, it's constantly conversation about this kind of stuff. That's going to change my life.
Yeah, no, I can tell you the software I use for it. It's really good.
Right. Yes. Right. thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Another mammoth one again. Apologies to Mackie if he's listening, and apologies to Sam Collins if he's listening.
No, no apologies to Sam Collins. He has dumb opinions.
Because of Transformers and because of the length of it. But yeah, right. Goodbye from us all. We will see you next time. We're going to do top 10 critical darlings, which are basically films that everyone else likes but you don't. Titanic. And we're also going to do our top 10 actors as well. So yeah, we're going to get ready for that. All right, guys. See you in a bit.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.